Good evening. I was on mute. Never mind. So it's been a long day today. Never mind. Let's get down to business. Let's have a look where we got. So yesterday we finished a triangle. Oh, did I update my thing? I did. It's not starting square 6, you silly cow. It's triangle. Triangle 6. There we go. So, let's see. So, we indeed did finish a triangle. We have updated status just to prove the fact. So, let's get going. It's amazing how short all the bobbins feel once you turn the corner and you've got all that space to work with. And of course you've fallen off. In fact, you haven't fallen off. You're just really, really loose and baggy, and it looks like you've fallen off. So let's try and do a bit about that. Undo a little bit, see if I can. Feels like I'm undoing all of it. Slide it down a bit, and then wind it on. Got a little bit of winding to do because, well, I had to take quite a lot off. So, and there's still some at the top that looks loose but isn't. It won't come down any further, so that's a thing. Okay. So I only got about another half metre to go. Don't worry, it's just I'm around it quite a lot, so I think here we come. Finally coming in for the kill. Right. I suppose it's still too long, but it's now in the slightly more capable area. So let's make everybody longer. We must be on an angle. I've got longer and longer the further I've gone, never mind. Right, so we are miles away from nowhere. Let's tilt this at a bit of an angle for a minute. Oh, for goodness sake, you were not undone 3 seconds ago when I undid you and made you longer. Just pick off bobbin. Oops, you fell off the side. Right. So, you are a thing. We need two. What we did before. This is what we did before. We did one of those, and then we did one of those. I had a question from a friend today. They saw my finished square and asked me a really simple question. Wow, how long did that take you, Liz? And I kind of went, actually, I don't know. It didn't seem that long. It was, it was a while, So I went off and counted. That first square took me basically 58 hours. Which means that the full curtain will take 1,044 hours as an average. That's a lot of time, people. So, we have that to look forward to. So I guess you're getting quite a bit more stream yet, is the short answer. That's of course, you stop rolling. That's of course not forgetting that at some point I may choose to do something else to stop some of the triangle boredom. Yeah, it's a lot of hours though. And they actually said, holy crap, kind of like, if you're going to have to do that many hours, they'd be scared that anything would so much as breathe near it, and you're going to make a net curtain out of it. It's like, well, it's the only thing I could think of that I'd use. And they're right, of course, sitting in sunshine and looking, being a little bit kind of on next to a window could be really bad for it. Straighten up a bit now. But if you don't use it for the job you intended, what will be the point? I mean, I could use it as a tablecloth, I suppose, but I don't really have a table to put a tablecloth on. Well, I suppose I do, but then I'd need to make it a hell of a lot bigger, because I'm looking at a table in front of me which must be twice as wide and at least twice as long. And, well, I'm sorry, but I'm not making 4 times the amount of squares. My sanity, I don't think, will put up with that in a hurry, so certainly not making a tablecloth for that. And of course that would still only be pee on a drum style tablecloth. It wouldn't drape over the edge like tablecloths are supposed to, so then I'd need more bobbins and more squares and more squares, and no, let's not be doing that. Think of better things to do. Now, of course, it does come to the question of, once I have completed this amazing task, what will I do after that? Well, obviously, I want to make another net curtain, and I want to try and make it as one piece. Not quite so sure where I would put it, because I've only got a couple of windows that are single pane. One of which is in my downstairs toilet, but that already has a blind in it. So it doesn't really need anything. So, kind of not sure how that's going to work. And I'm already too hot. For goodness sake. It's not hot in here by any stretch of the imagination, but apparently my body says it's too hot, so off comes the jumper. And this bobbin's being annoying because it's not coming undone properly. There we go. You've now rolled into places that you shouldn't. Congratulations. Just making them all a bit longer. This one doesn't want to come undone, because this is one of the ones with the flat bit on the side, and it's... There we go, if we loosen you, Let's loosen you a bit more. Take you off. And put you round the round bit. Make you a bit shorter again. There we go. So, get in there. Definitely get in there. Right, let's look. We don't need most of you for a bit, so let's put you all over there. Nicely out the way. Oh, it's definitely a day. So, do-do-do. Bin. You're too long. Yeah. Sure, I shortened you a moment ago. There we go. Oh look, the dogs have woken up. Oh, fuck's sake. How do you undo? How do you do that? I will threaten you with elastic bands. All of you. Ow, toe, ooh, toe. No, that didn't mean I needed your help, dog. And why does my arm hurt? No, don't jog me with... Are you going to bite my fingers? Are you biting my fingers? What's all this about? You haven't done this for years. Ouch! That was a bit too much teeth. Not aided by sister. No! No! Ow! Rory, no. No, little boy. Love you dearly. I'm having a fight with a dog. Bite your sister. No, not me. No, I'm nice. I feed you and water you and hug you and let you sit on my couch. We have beans. Yes, you have beans. And I seem to have a bruise on my arm. Where did that come from? I can feel it. I think someone stood on me. That would be usually what that is. Yes, one of your bony paws. Can I have my drink now? Are you going to let me actually have it without me spilling it this time? No, I said don't spill it, you cow. Oh, dogs. Annoying doggies. That's what happens when you have a full glass of Coke and 2 annoying dogs. Fortunately, the Coke is on my trousers, which are black, and not on my lace or down my t-shirt, which is unusual, actually. Usually, of course, it gravitates to the most sustainable thing, which of course would be the lace. So I suppose there's something to be grateful for. So I hope you can all hear me. I'm looking at all the things. All the things say you can hear me. I hope I don't mind talking to myself, but it's I believe that, you know, there is life out there somewhere. Bought a new pair of earphones. Thanks, Nautical. I feel happier knowing that the sound is reaching the internet, especially after my faux pas with the mute button the other day. So, I still can't believe that the mute button goes dark when it is muted and lights up when it is not, unlike every other button that is lit up when it is active. Typical. So yes, as long as you can hear me, that's cool. So yes, I bought some new earphone things today. They're not in the ear earphone things, they're kind of outer ear earphone things, because then you don't get sore ears and all that kind of stuff. And I thought that that would be helpful for me for this. Do you remember back in like the 80s and 90s when, you know, we didn't have ear... So I bought these earphone things and they go over the top. Do you remember in the 80s and 90s when we had like headphones and we didn't have like earphones, and so you'd be sitting next to someone and you'd hear like as whatever they, you know, assuming it was some form of music. Anyway, it's exactly what these things are like. Even on fairly quiet, you can hear... I mean, obviously I tried it with a piece of music, and... well, they're crap. They're utter crap. Everyone's been raving about them, and, well, I think they're crap. So, I won't be using those. I mean, they're really comfortable. I'm not going to deny they're not comfortable, because they are really comfortable. And if I was... I don't know, if I was going into hospital... Oh, and they've got a really short battery life as well. And I say short, they play for 5 hours and then they're dead. You need to charge them again, which in my mind is next to nothing. In this day and age, we need far longer than that. Any earphone that can't survive a working day is not worth having. So, yeah, they're a bit pants. They've got no bass. It's... I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not a bass freak. But if the tune's got bass, I expect to be able to hear it. You know, I don't want to feel it all the way down my spinal cord, or watch my brain melt because it's, you know, pounding that rhythm. But when even the lighter based stuff is clearly missing something, it's just... I used to be a bit of an audiophile, and I was not a deliberately serious audiophile, but I am very aware of audio, and I am very good at picking out sounds. I'm very good at... Well, I went to watch a friend in concert, and he was singing with about 100 other people. And we were there for the rehearsal because we gave him a lift in. And he came over and he was like, well, what do you think? And I said, who was the girl who was like the fourth one in? And he was like, what, this one? And I went, yeah, that one. And he went, why? And I went, she sings out of tune. And he goes, how do you know? And I went, well, because she is. And he went, we've been thinking that for weeks, but no one actually could prove it was her. And I went, it's her. I could pick out of 100 different people's voices all singing the same shit. I could go, it's her. And I was at the back of the church not really paying attention. And he was kind of like, you're a freak. Yeah, I am. I wonder if he remembers that. So yes, I've always been quite good at pinpointing sounds. There are certain things I can't do, but I've always been quite good at pinpointing sounds and what's in key, what's out of key. Yes. I definitely didn't make a friend in her that day because I think he told her. Because she had a face like a slapped butt for the rest of for the concert. And someone had obviously said to her, you know that someone in the audience says you're flat. But never mind. So yeah, I think if it was for audiobooks, those headphones would be great because they are very clear in middle tones. The cymbals in everything sound too shh rather than cimbally, so they're a bit crap at that kind of end. They're crap at the bass end, but for things like audiobooks or something along those lines, they're great. But I have a cheaper pair of ear things, which I've currently got one in my ear roll, which is so that when you guys type to me, it text-to-speeches it into my ear, and it's a much better level of sound, much more realistic, much more like it should be. I mean, I've only got one ear, so it's not in stereo, and anything that was meant for left ear only, of course, I'm not really going to hear it, because that's how it works. But the sound quality, and more to the point, you don't hear that as I listen to anything. So if I turn music on now, you can't hear it. If I turn music on with the other ones, you'd hear it. You know, it would be that tinny radio in the distance style kind of listening, and it's, no, don't be needing that. You know, it's not why we have it. I mean, I'm not listening to anything right now, so don't even try and listen for anything, because, well, there's nothing to listen to. The only thing that is when you type, they will hear. But yeah, they're pretty crap. Slightly disappointed. They took their time getting here as well. I also had something strange with my bank today. I woke up to a notice that said, you know, some direct debit has taken its first payment, and my brain's going, what direct debit? So I clicked on it, and it took me to my banking app, and kind of abandoned me at my banking app, and I was left to wonder what the hell it was talking about, because of course it was first thing this morning. I wasn't really wide awake. I didn't entirely read the notification before I clicked on it, and being an iPhone, once you've clicked on it, it's gone now. Anyway, I had a quick look, couldn't find anything that looked out of place. Well, I was having a look just before I streamed, and I found on my current account a line that said PayPal payment. Well, first of all, PayPal payments don't say PayPal payment. They say PayPal and then, you know, something to do with the seller. And of course, I don't set mine to come off my bank account. So that's not a thing. So I cancelled that because it was a direct debit, which of course it had said it was a direct debit. I'm sure it had like JMRC or something, but you know, it was stupid o'clock this morning and I wasn't awake, so maybe I'm wrong. But no, nothing I've got should have been coming out of my bank account. So that was a fraudulent payment, so I've killed that. There's something to keep an eye out for, especially if you do online payments through PayPal and stuff, because it wasn't a PayPal thing, or it would have a reference. So I have had something similar before. It was on my credit card, and I have a credit card especially for this kind of purpose. So if I buy something, so not that I'm going to, but let's say I buy something off Temu or whatever it's called, I would not use any of my other things. Now look, ads, everybody. Have fun, everybody. Nope, that's not what I want to be doing. I need more bobbins. More bobbins! The ads will come any second now. Oh no, we've got... What? Oh, I've got another minute or so. So yeah, if I bought something off Temu, I've got a really low credit card that I can use for less trusted people. In fact, anything other than Amazon and PayPal is pretty much the deal for that. So that should they have to cancel it, or because over here the credit cards, if you ever dispute something, they cancel the credit card and give you a new one on the grounds that the details must have been leaked somewhere, therefore just can it and get a new one. So we won't be needing you just yet. So I've got a credit card that is purely for that purpose. That way, things that I need, such as food, petrol, you know, emergency dog, whatever, I have something to pay with it on. Yeah, PayPal's gone downhill. It's not as good as it used to be. I remember must be close to 4 years ago now, because I think it was just before 2020, so it must have been the end of 2019. I'd agreed to PayPal credit on the grounds that occasionally I buy something really, really big and might want to split it into a couple of bits. And what they don't entirely tell you is that if you sign up for that, it will default to that for everything without actually telling you. and then obviously you manually have to go and pay it. It won't automatically take the payment. And so I bought something, thought nothing particularly of it. It wasn't hugely expensive. And I was sitting at work one day, and it was kind of like, hello, this is PayPal. Like, fuck it is. You know, since when did PayPal make phone calls? Go away, right? And, you know, I genuinely didn't believe it was PayPal. So I ignored them. No. There you go, you should all be back now. So yes, I got this phone call from PayPal, and of course I didn't believe it was someone from PayPal, because since when do PayPal almost have people, you know? I mean, technically there are people in the dispute centre, but they don't write like people. They seem to paste mainly kind of like pre-written answers and scripty things, so, you know, they could be AI bots for all we know. Anyway, he did something that managed to make him prove to me that he was actually from PayPal. I think he managed to cite a number of my you know, less common details sort of thing, right? And it was like, okay, I guess. Anyway, he explained to me that, well, you know, you haven't paid your PayPal credit, madam. Well, I haven't used it. Well, you have. No, I didn't. Literally everything, when I'd signed up to it, had defaulted to PayPal credit. So all of the kind of like reoccurring things, so like, I don't know, if you've got a gaming thing that you've signed up for and you pay for it with PayPal, that, all of them, and I mean all of them, had defaulted to PayPal credit. And it's like, I never agreed to that. Oh, well, you know, that's normal. No, it's not normal. I have added an option to my account. I didn't say this is my best and favouriteest thing. And he did, in the end, he did it for me. He went through every single thing I had and changed it away from PayPal credit. And I said, now take it off. Don't want it. Get rid of it. Not interested. If that can be a habit, if some update can go out and change all of that again, let's turn that off. And, obviously that was not a popular decision with PayPal, but I'm sorry, but you don't just change random things. And none of my PayPal stuff comes out my bank account. So my bank account should never have PayPal stuff appear on it. So, unless it's coming in for some reason, and of course I don't sell stuff, so that shouldn't really be a thing. And this was an outgoing payment marked PayPal payment. Well, that's not a thing. It's not how it works. So, I'm going to cancel that shit. I won't be doing that again in a hurry. What the fuck was that? It sounded outside, but I got a feeling it was upstairs. I think I need to go and check on the dogs. We were upstairs. It was not outside. We have probably destroyed something in the bedroom. And as there's technically only 2 things in the bedroom that are even remotely capable of making those sort of noises, one of which is my bedside table, I'm assuming it was my bedside table taking a dive to the floor. Because I didn't get upstairs. I got halfway up the stairs and 2 little dogs kind of went, "Who, me?" "Yes, you." Naughty puppies. Naughty puppies. Naughty puppies who have the beans. And another tale of annoyance. Where's my sellotape? Where's your brother gone? Don't look at me with that tone of fur. You had dinner, and you had some of mine. You get your face out of it. There you are. And what were you doing? Were you fighting with your sister? Don't pretend that you don't know what I'm talking about. I heard you, because it sounded like the whole frigging fence coming down outside. Might have been the fence outside, but the dogs would have barked at that, so we know it was the dogs. Yes. Don't think I don't notice, because I do notice. Because I know I can do a good impression of stupid, but I'm not actually that stupid. No. Mr. and Mrs. Paws. Yes. Well, Mr. and Miss Paws, I guess. Amy, I know you don't have boobs to speak of, but if I stood on you like you stand on me, you would squeal. Partly because I weigh more, but that doesn't mean use your back legs instead. I have a face full of dog. And no jumper as extra protection. My jumper does act remarkably like a layer of dog fur, in that it does protect me from the many claws of dog. So hence, being jumperless, and yeah, I know I've got scratches and stuff, but it's because I had a scratch. I needed a scratch. I had an itch. It's probably a dog hair, but you know, I had an itch, so I've scratched it. Never mind. This feels incorrect somehow. No, that's right, it just looks incorrect. So yes, having worked out that the first square took the best part of 58 hours, this is not going to be a quick thing. See, that's why it doesn't look right, is the fact that it's taken like 3 more squares for that one to be trapped behind a pin. I don't remember seeing that before. I thought that after, pretty much the next one, it got trapped behind a pin. Which suggests the others are wrong, but they kind of look alright, so... Now, I suppose if you look at this one, it does come back, but then that's only from the last one. There seem to be quite a few more than that. Looks alright. Nearly there. One more row to go. And this, my friends, is why I break it up when it comes to doing the final bits down here is that I do kind of like to I go from like here to here, and then I start working down and getting rid of bobbins, because there's just too many bobbins to be actively floating around the pillow all in one go. And now the dog's gone outside, I'm worried that the noise was the fence crashing down. Let me quickly look. You're just being annoying today, and yesterday, and the day before. I've clearly bought dog food with too many beans. We'll have to cut out the dog food. No more dog food. That's what we need to do. No more dog food. That's the answer to it. No more dog food for dogs. They have the beans. Settle down, you be a good girl. No, that doesn't mean mug me. No. I was reading that apparently there is a Twitch craft and makers club thing. No idea what that's about, but I read that it was a thing today, and I was kind of like, I don't know what that is. Oh well. I know that there are many mysteries of this world, and maybe that's just one of them. Shall see. Oops. Went to pick up one pin and I got about 20. Not quite sure how I did that. and they're all kind of balanced together. It was like one of those, can you balance 6 forks on a pin or something? And it's like, well, of course not. Well, it's basically what I'd managed. As I say, not quite sure how I did that. There were literally huge bunches of pins. I think I got 2 pins and then kind of picked up a handful in between them. And the pressure of the 2 pins kept them all in there. It was a lot of pins. You aren't sagging. It's possible, but this was definitely something like the Twitch Creators and Makers Club or something, which of course is the name of the subject category, that's probably the word I'm after, that I stream into. So yes, makers and crafting. I've got a feeling, in fact let me go quickly look it up, see exactly what it was called. One moment. It says, this particular person says, Twitch Artists and Makers Creator Club seems to be the name of the event. So, let's see. That's right, my friend who'd asked how long it took to make the square, and so I added up all the stream hours, because while there are stopping points like I'm talking to you now, it's a good approximation. And they kind of went, so it started off with, hang on, let's view the whole thing. So it was, show all comments, because of course, very impressive, Liz. Okay, and I said, thank you. How big is it and how long did it take? Okay, so it's 15.5 centimetre squares and took 57.7 hours. And I need 17 more. I'm a quarter of the way through the next one. They wrote, oh my goodness, that is an insane amount of work. Why do you need 17 more? And I said, well, to make a net counting out of them. And they wrote, just wow, wow, wow. I'd be terrified after that much work to keep anywhere damp, moths or UV could get to it. And then they asked if I was still working on what I do. And I went, and I explained about how my brain always wanted to make the curtain and all the rest of it. And so it actually reminds me. Why is it I can't seem to hit Y or T accurately on my keyboard on my phone? Do I still work in IT? I've been working in IT since I was 16. It's not likely to change. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to stick you up and push you out the way. That's you. And we'll kind of brush you down a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My brain kind of goes on 2 pathways. When I count to 5, it's either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 once I caught a fish alive, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everybody in the party just come alive. Sorry, and doing kind of like Mambo number 5. So, yeah, brain, it's just counting. You don't need to make additional jokes in the world. we can just deal with what is already there. So, time to start the cloth stitch. Don't bark. Dogs. So. Ruff, says one. Woof, it says. Actually, I'm being stupid. That is not what I wanted to do. I want to take you out. You're in, but I want... See, this is the problem I had last time. This is the working pair. This is the pair that I introduce. But I need to cover my pins. I know what we did last. I don't remember what we did last time. Let's do what we did last time. So, last time we did a half stitch. At this point, no, that's the wrong side of the bit of thread. There we go. It's feeling a bit grumpy. And then another half stitch, and now they're where they should be, which is to come over here and do you. And you've come undone because you're fucking annoying. Seriously, can you just stop? Where we pin it. And we twist and we go back the way we came. And now we need more bobbins. But we only need a couple, so we're going to steal you two. And with any luck, you are the two that I want. So let's take you out of there. You are the two that I want. That's good. Just as well. And of course, you've just come undone because you're annoying. Seriously, can you stop the going baggy and saggy and coming undone thing? Look, people, we have elastic bands and I've got more of them. Do not, I repeat, do not be doing this or you will get elastic band. I've got like 1,000 more of these bloody things. So don't think that by snapping them you'll get out of it either. Because we used those when we tried Honiton bobbins on the very first square that was the inspiration. So, because they kept rolling around and being annoying, I would, because Honiton bobbins, as you may recall, are these wafer thin, dainty little sticks. I stuck them together in pairs so that they couldn't roll around because, well, now there's a flat side. And it meant that instead of having to stick them up in big groups of bobbins, I could literally cast the pairs aside. And while occasionally the pairs may somewhat tangle and get out of order, but the truth was, not a lot. And as a result of that, it meant that, of course, I could just get on with it. And I got quite good at putting elastic bands on and off bobbins. Now, obviously, these are fatter. I need another pair of bobbins. Hang on. For a mere moment. Hopefully, it's you two. And you are tangled. But it is you two. That's a good thing. I'm going to stick an extra twist because I don't think you're twisted. As other bobbin people will tell you occasionally, sometimes they're twisted and don't look it. And at that point, it's always worth sticking in an extra twist, just to be sure. Because, of course, if there isn't enough, it'll show later. And as we all know, I'm good at missing twists, so I'd rather add an extra one than miss one. Now, you go straight out again, which is a little bit annoying, so you can go over there. Should be fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But no, I mean, for example, one of the things that I kind of don't understand. Remember I said to you there's lots of things in the world that don't make a lot of sense to me. And, well, people who manage to not have jobs and just do, like, Twitch or YouTube is kind of one of them. Well, there's the TwitchCon, where all the streamers go to meet up. And a lot of them are invited and paid for to go. By who? Yeah. So I don't know. My brain doesn't understand a lot of things sometimes, and this is where I come over as a bit stupid. So I was explaining the other day on stream is that I tend to use spoken words that I can spell. It's not because I don't know great wafts of additional words. I just can't spell any of them, so I don't use them because, well, I can't spell them and write it down later. And it makes me come over sometimes as, I don't know, less educated or stupid, for want of a better word. But I'm not actually stupid. I just can't spell a lot of the things and so avoid them. Because otherwise I then get into the frustration level of trying to write down something and wanting to use all the words that I could use, and I can't spell it. So I only use words that I can spell, therefore I can write it down later. And it's a habit I formed as a child because, well, I couldn't spell half them, and I'd get told off, because having 16 different methods of being spelt on a page, and it was kind of like, did I? Yeah, okay, whatever, I'll believe you. Because I've forgotten I even wrote it, let alone, the fact that I spelt it 16 different ways. So, if you say so, miss, And so I learnt to only use that which I knew I could spell without getting into trouble at school. So I did. Well, of course, it continues into your adult life, really. And so there are many things I do. I mean, for example, obviously, when you play it, when I play adverts, not you, because obviously you have to suffer them, but when adverts play on Twitch, I can understand that there is a token effort payment to, well, it's kind of a fictitious payment really, but a token payment to me on the grounds that I gave up my stream time so that they could bore you with ads. But at the same time, and why is it so many of these have got funky bits? I mean, obviously, if I was Asmongold with, like 20,000 something odd people watching at any one time, I could kind of understand how that makes maybe enough money to live on, because it's something like 1 cent per person per ad, right? So it really is not a lot. And, they only pay out after 50 quid, so... Well, it's going to take a while. Well, I think it's $50, same stuff, really. 50 units of currency, and that, well, at 1 cent a person, that's going to take a while. So, not exactly going to be raving the party on that. It's not exactly Christmas bonus kind of material. So, I'll be lucky if I get like 1 payout a year or something. And so, I'm not expecting to make money on it because, well, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to document doing it and let other people see what's involved and ask questions, and maybe, they'll be interested in doing it. But 99% of the reason I'm doing this is to make myself do it. Because it's easy to hold yourself accountable, and like tonight, I wasn't really in the mood. But of course, if you have one day when you're not really in the mood, it's easy to have another day when you're not really in the mood. And then suddenly you've had a lot of days when you were not in the mood, and, well, nothing's happened. 1, 2, 3, 4, the extra one. And so it is a form of accountability and self-pressure to get on with it. Because it's not a bookmark here. It's, we've already calculated this evening that it's going to take over 1,000 hours. That's a lot of hours. So if you don't, obviously, in the weekday, I generally only do 2-3 hours tops. But that works out as 10 to 12 hours a week during the week. So it's not an inconsequential amount. Clearly it's going to take a really long time, and, we don't like to think about that. But we knew that. We knew it was never going to be a quick thing. We estimated that anything from 6 months to a year. But it does mean that when I have time off in a month, I should be in a position to do more hours, although I will have to split it up because food, drink, life. But if I can do, 2 lots of 5 hours, unlikely because I won't have enough time to upload it in the middle, but I could always upload them at the end of the day, I suppose. But, if I could do, or even 5 hours and 3 hours or something. So I do a kind of morning to lunchtime bit and an evening one, for example. It's probably enough time to upload then. Well, if I'm doing 10 hours a day, it will go down a lot quicker because obviously I've got most of December off. So, well, if I can effectively do a weekend-long stream every single day, so they're often sort of like 5 hours or so, if I can do that level of stream every day, well, it will burn it down just that little bit quicker. So by January, we might have done a square or two. Well, we're getting there. We will get there. It's a good thing. And of course, if I'm in the can't be bothered when I have, as my evenings when I'm, when I'm working, well, it'd be too easy to get to my holiday and, I won't day one because, I deserve a bit of time and a snooze and to get up late and well, then day two, well, it is nice getting up late. I don't have to start now, obviously. And suddenly, you've done kind of like 1 hour in a week and nothing's happened. Your holiday's, burning away rapidly and you've done nothing with it. So a lot of this is to encourage the brain cells to keep going. It's a bit like people who post their diet results online. They're not doing it because they expect you to hold a ticker tape rate because they lost a pound this week. They're doing it because it holds them accountable. That people might ask, you didn't post your results this week, how are you doing? And then you have the, well, I weighed in and actually I'm fatter this week, so I didn't like to mention it. It's too easy to fall off the wagon of doing something, especially something that's arguably a new habit, right? Because obviously, I am not, I haven't been doing this for 50 years. You've seen the predominance of my life. I made a few bookmarks, but, nothing to write home about before starting this. So it is, it is partly a learning curve. For goodness sake, dog. It was all comfortable till you rucked it up. Now it's all rucked up and you're mad because it's all rucked up. And I can see you're mad because it's rucked up. Well, you shouldn't have rucked it up then, dog. Should you? There are 4 dog beds in this room. Sorry, 3 dog beds in this room. no, actually, I'm technically right. Actually, there are 5. They just don't know that that parcel there's a new dog bed for when that one over there really bites the dust. It's looking sorry for itself. And there are 4 seats that I'm not sitting in. And you've just rucked up your favourite bed. I bought, I've got round fluffy, well, oval fluffy dog beds. I've got 3 of them in this room. One, as I say, is very second hand. And some of the fluff is liberally scattered throughout my house. So it is very much a shell of its former self. And ideally needs to go in the bin, which is why, although of course they like it, but there is a replacement for when it is a stage too far. Anyway, and then I bought for the last dog, who was old, well, because, well, she was old, she got to be proper old, and she had cancer of everything, and so she was old, and she was going to, she was getting a bit doddery. She wasn't really that bad, but she was getting doddery. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I bought these kind of, they're almost like mini tents, but they're not tents. They're all kind of upside down ski toboggan thing, in that they've kind of got rounded ends for you to hang on to, and so they're about 6 inches off the floor. So the idea was that instead of her bones resting kind of on the kind of hard floor and carpet, that she would have the raised bed that, while obviously she's got her weight on her bones, she doesn't have bone into concrete stroke, wooden floor stroke, whatever hell's underneath this carpet, right? Probably guessing concrete. And then on top of that, I put, they're almost like child mattresses, but they're dog beds. So they're like 3 and a bit foot long, and, well, 2 and a bit, actually, it's more like 4 odd feet long and 3 feet wide. They're quite big. So I've got a couple of those floating around. And this is what he's just rucked up. So the off the floor bed, being big and fluffy and comfortable and stuff, they obviously like it because, well, it's comfortable. But he's just spent ages rucking up the bed portion of that, and is now looking sour-faced because, well, it's not as comfortable as it was. Well, then you shouldn't have wrapped it up. Dogs. I really need to stick you lot, don't I? Let's stick some of you, so let's take you down there. 6. So, don't need you in there. I'm going to stick you. Why is the fan on my PC making me? can't believe it's Wednesday. I could have sworn it was only Tuesday. Where did Tuesday go? And the worst part is, yes, I didn't know I did stream on Monday and Tuesday, but somehow my brain still thought today was Tuesday. Yeah. One extra pair of bobbins. Stop mating with that one. Right. So, that is the cloth stick section done. So let's put you in here. Hello, Rory. And you. Yes, you're a good boy, really. You are, little nose. You can be. Not always a good boy, but you can be. Yes, you can. You can be good boy. I have seen you achieve goodness. I have. Little man? Hello. Oh, Amy! He was asking so nicely, and you did your face hugger job. Poor Rory. Oh, go on. Poor little man. Come here. Come on. Come up here. Come on. Up you come. There you go. You come and have hug too. There. There. Huggies for Rory's too. Oh, what a yawn. What a hard life that you have. Yes. Yes, you do. Oh no. Pain. The anguish. The torture. The neglect, the utter neglect that you get. You never get huggies or food. No, I know. I'm such a cruel owner. I am. Is it because you want to lick the plate that's over there that I forgot to take in the kitchen from tea? Yes. The answer is no, you can't. Come on, enough now. There you go. You've had a hug. Off. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stick you, because we don't need you for a minute. And take you around the back. Then we've got the 2 of you and the 5 of you. Now I need some of you, but not some of you. So if we take... Pardon you, young lady. You're a bit short compared to everybody else, so I'll wind you a little bit. We can then poke you 2 in this end, like this. And you 2 in this end, to maintain order. Now we have 5 in here, for now, out of the way. Let's try and keep some of these threads down a little bit. But we need you for the next bit, which involves these escaped bobbins here. you are the first four of those bobbins, and you can go over there because I'll need you in a minute. What time is it? Oh, it's 9:30 already. Okay. So, do I break a habit of a lifetime, or do I and start but not finish? I suppose it sees how it goes, really, isn't it? So actually, I need more of those than I've just given myself credit for, and you're far too baggy. Come on. So you need to cross, twist, cross, twist and cross, and twist and cross, and twist and cross. But I also need some of you. And how many of you do I need? Most of you. 1, 2, 3 and a half. 1, 2. 1, 2 and a half. Oh, okay, so I need 2 more out of there. Okay. Let's worry about that in a second. Let's tip you round a bit more to make a bit more space. Because I like space. Okay, so let's start this and see how well we do. You can see why. Ow! 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 Look at this! Right up the side of the nail. Ow! Forever sticking myself. That's you done with for the moment. Now I need 4 of you. Which is the 4 of you. Any luck? This is. So, cross, twist, cross. Actually, it was twist and cross, but never mind. 1 of each. Right. Or 2 of each. Okay, so. Twist, cross, twist, cross. See, I said the right ones this time. You're a bit long. Let's try and sort some of you out a bit. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We have a faux pas. So, hands up who can see why Liz is stupid today. And why it is only apparent now. Because, well, it's not the first time I've made this mistake. Let's put those over there for a minute. Those over there. These over here. Well, if these make a square, and these are the last ones on the corner, what does this tell us? That's not whole squares. So, why is it not whole squares, Liz? Well, that's because Liz, the inevitably stupid, and who is very rude about herself when she's done stupid things, so you'll have to get used to that, I apologise. Liz, the incredibly stupid, missed a pin. Where did you miss a pin, Liz? Well, let me find a pointing device. Here, there is a large gap where there is no pin. Zoomy zoom, hang on. Get your nose out. Look, no pin. There should be a pin. Liz is stupid. Rory, I'm incredibly stupid. Do I have your fur for brains? Do I? Do I really? Because how do I not notice these things? Can you both back off? Please. So, that is a little far back. Not too far back, but it's too far back to expect the worker threads to stretch without notice. So I need to extract them from here, because we will need to undo some. And you, of course, have since tangled, because that's what threads do best, with other threads. And how are you tangled around that? How, in the name of mercy, are you tangled round another thread? Let's take this out. There you go. I don't know how you achieved that. You're just being annoying, so scrunch you back up. Right, you get to go over there where you're best. I now take the excessive plethora of threads that form the cloth stitch pile, and we undo. And we pull you out, and then we untwist you too, and we go back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we take this pin out, and then we undo those, and we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because we needed to get back this far. Now, you might, with a little bit of added strength from friend of the pokey stick, you may move. So let's not headbutt the thing. Take you out a sec. Take pokey stick and see if I can. Nope. You need more strength. Okay. You're not prepared to move yet. So we have to do a little bit more. That's okay, we don't mind. It's better to notice now than cry about it later. Now try and extract this pin. Come on, pin. Right. Now you should move. No excuses. Where's stick of pulling? Stick of pulling. Pull you more than I need so that I can pin you. Pay attention. You go there. That's a good thing. There. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just check 1, 2, 3, 4. It's only half. Check again. 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. So you're under. No, you're not. Yeah, you go under and you go over. Right. Now you go there. To a hole that I can't find. There it is. Out. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I picked a new pin. I've got plenty over here. Good. Ouch. Oh, my back. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ouch, ouch. Oh, ouch, ouch, ouch. Ouch, ouchie, ouch, ouch. Back decided that it didn't like that. Okay, whatever. Didn't do anything particular. You've come undone and slid up and done all the things that bobbins are currently doing to annoy me. There you go. So, this is the corner shot, which is fine, and then this was why it felt weird to be stopping on that corner, because you come out and we work our way back to the middle. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Because we're at the corner. Now we have pairs of bobbins for the squares, which is fine. Now let's put you in here. And you in here. To fill up your quota of bobbins and keep you out of the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's put you in a stick to keep you out the way. Oh, come on back. You were doing so well. I love how bodies do that. I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. No, too late. It's like a cat. Hello! Hello, hello, hello. How are you? I didn't see you there for a minute because it didn't read you out because you're an emote. You're next. And how can I set this up again? Yeah, today's proving not to be one of my better days, to be honest. Although right now, really confused. So you two make that square, which means that one of you actually has to come out. Now, I thought, I don't know, that makes sense. It's you. Does make sense. It's you. You were lurking where you shouldn't. That's okay. Heart attack over. Right. We were just fixing the faux pas of the moment. Again. Because after all, it's not like I've made no mistakes whatsoever in doing this. We are also recovering from the fact that a friend of mine said, "So how long did that first square take you?" So I added up the stream times. Now, obviously, some of the stream times is sitting and talking to you guys occasionally. I've shown you some other things. But as an approximation as to how long it took, it's a reasonably enough estimate. 57.7 hours per square. And we need 18 squares. Yeah. That's a lot of streaming to do. So you're going to have to put up with an awful lot of me for a while. I'm kind of not, because, it's not like I do 1 square a day. But at the same time, 50 plus hours per square, 18 squares. Now, obviously, if I could do it, say, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, I would maintain almost a square a week, and it would take 18 weeks. Which sounds quite reasonable. Have you tried doing this for 18 hours? For 8.5 hours a day, it's a bit like, I guess, like any job. If you suddenly, if you go from, I don't know, when you were a child, if you ever did a Saturday job, not that I got to do a Saturday job, but, if you got to do like a shop job where you have to stand all day, the first few times standing all day were a killer because you've never stood for 8+ hours, right? And a lot of jobs, other than desk jobs perhaps, any time you do it to start with, you discover muscles and things you never knew you had, and you're in agony. I mean, I imagine if you're a manual labourer, you get up the first day to go to your first job, and you're all really dead keen because you got your job, and I know you haul bricks up a ladder all day, and maybe your body kind of goes, yeah, this is all right. It's not so funny the next morning. And I bet the first couple of times, first of all, after about an hour, your feet were just going, I'm done. I want no more of this. So you bought the most ugly frumpy shoes in the history of ugly frumpy shoes because they were good for your feet and comfortable. And even that wasn't enough because they were already sore. And it's that kind of thing. I think this is part of the problem I'm having when I stream is now, although I've been doing it a couple of weeks now, my back still has not entirely adjusted to sitting here for hours at this exact angle doing this exact thing, because of course I don't do it all day. Even though I sit on this couch, like pointed, it's not even 20 degrees to the left from here. But I just don't suffer because, of course, during the day I move around a lot more. But of course I can't move around a lot more because then I can't reach. So, you know, I have to sit a lot closer. I have to be able to put the pins in. So I have to be in more of a fixed position. And clearly my body's not used to that. And so it's having a little rebel. And every so often it rebels even more. But I can imagine that in a month's time, because today being the 6th of November, this time, so the 6th of December, I will be on holiday. And I can arguably spend considerably more time streaming. Except for the fact that my body will say, no thanks. And I'll be left going, but I need to get on with it. So obviously I'm hoping during December I will be able to put in considerably more hours. And maybe make, you know, up the rate of the average square time, shall we call it. So that I won't say, you know, I'm not going to promise like a triangle a day or anything, but, you know, in theory, that could arguably be possible. On a really good day, doubt it, but on a really good day with, you know, if I dose up with a few painkillers and... Well, exactly, and this is part of the problem. I was saying earlier in the stream, the problem is I didn't really want to stream tonight. Now, it's not because I wasn't, partly because I was kind of not in the mood, but I also was a bit tired and I was yawning, and, you know, I consider it fairly rude to yawn on stream. So, you know, I was trying not to. But at the same time, if I don't get on with it and I go, I'm really not in the mood today, you know, because, you know, as I've said, the only day I have promised to you all that I will definitely stream is Friday. Now, I intend to stream every day, but rather than fix it at a time so I can put it in my schedule, I have left it open, which is why it's not, you know, down as a promise to stream, right? Now, obviously, while I'm off, I will probably alter my stream and try and fix a bit more times to, you know, give me a bit more of a regimented system for it. But at the same time, part of you says you don't want to because, you know, you are supposed to be enjoying it after all. And if you're not enjoying it, well, then you'll start resenting it. But I almost can't imagine doing... Now, you see, this is why... knitting a jumper and crocheting blankets and doing cross stitch, which hasn't really grown, by the way. Where is it? There it is. My cross stitch thing has grown a little bit, look. I have done a little bit more, but nothing, you know, nothing hugely excitable there. I am thinking, and maybe you can advise me on this. This bit that looks like a mistake, let me zoom in, hang on, boink, this bit here, which now looks a little bit better, that looks a bit like a clock but isn't, it's kind of a swirl with a wrappy bit, it disappears. Even knowing what it is, it disappears, and it's supposed to be unstitched stitches, but it disappears. I'm considering, I've got some really, really fine silver and gold thread. Now, there is some gold thread that comes with this, and it's designed to be used stitching back stitch, but also to do with, I thought I would use silver rather than the gold that comes with it. So, or even just do tiny silver cross stitches, to be frank. But I thought I would fill those in, and maybe fill in the filled in bits. Oh, is it? Okay. That's right. I read your message. I need to allow. Hang on. There you go. I mean, to be honest, I understand. I did see one thing that I thought of buying and then looked at the fact that it was on black. I think it was 25 count on black needed. No. Well, I've got, frankly, huge cones of this shit. Rory, do you mind not licking my the back of my t-shirt. That's really quite minging of you. Thank you. I don't need a wet t-shirt. Okay, so now you've... I use PVA. Oh, I have... Let's go and walk about again. I'm forever doing this. I put things down and they disappear. It's partly dog related, but some of it's not. It'll be in here somewhere. Be in my pile of stuff somewhere. I've got the world's biggest tube of PVA glue that dries clear. And I mean absolutely clear, because you can't tell from this. This is all PVA'd up. I know that obviously those are a bit frayedy bit, which is why I then chose to do it. But I literally, there's PVA all the way around here like this and down through the middle. This is something I do with my weaving. So I do it with, you have to have the right PVA glue, because the wrong PVA goes yellow. So I bought off Amazon, as inevitably Amazon is the work of the devil. I bought some Fray Stop. Now, Fray Stop is not Fray Check, clearly, as we will soon demonstrate. Because if I show you my little tub of stuff, the original inspirational square, and seriously, stop licking my t-shirt. Creeps me out. It's one of the few autistic things I have. Will you stop licking my clothes? If you look really carefully, let me zoom in again, hang on. Zoom me in. If you look really carefully, this is yellow. And the reason this is yellow is creepy. Well, Fray Check and Fray Stop is a form of super glue. You're right. Now, as long as it dries clear, I frankly don't care. The one advantage of PVA glue is it will wash out. Now, in terms of, for example, squares that are potentially going to be a net curtain that will need washing, PVA would be bad, right? Because, well, you're going to wash it at some point. I mean, okay, you don't wash your net curtains every day, but you are going to wash it. And the last thing you want is to spend like 1,000 hours making squares, put it in, put it in a tub of water and you hand wash it, trying to treat it nice, and just watch the whole thing turn into a big knot of threads because they all come undone, right? So super glue is fine. Down with super glue, even though you've knotted them and technically they shouldn't come undone. I am down for a bit of super glue, which technically is what I used on square one. In fact, technically I used nail glue because, well, screw it. Not that I have particularly nails, as we're all aware, but nail glue, where is it? There it is. Brush on resin. So I used that because it's super glue. It's not resin, it lies. You don't need the activator. It's a whole pile of shit. It is just super glue. Because it's clear. Well, exactly, right? So I had that because I had that, and I didn't want to use the PVA because PVA washes out. But I am very conscious that it's not the right answer. And I do need to do a bit of work before we get to the end of this square, because someone has explained a method for me to sew it in so that I would feel more confident my ends are not just going to go and, flee to the hills and leave dangly short threads that you can't do anything with. Because, of course, you do have to chop them fairly close, and you wouldn't end up with the bunny ears effect that I have, concerns about. I mean, to be honest, if you look at this one, which is the square, number one, the joins on this, which are done with nail glue, are pretty invisible. I mean, if you put your fingers on them, yeah, they're crunchy, right? But they bend, it all bends as it should, because each one got its own little, literally the tiniest of glue. And obviously, from the bunny ears perspective, there's a bit of a loose thread, but if I fold it along the line for you, hang on, which is proving easier said than done, because I'm annoying. The bunny ears effect is visible. You probably can't see very well, hang on. Bunny ears effect, okay. So you can see that there's a few bunny ears along the way. But again, it's on the back. Someone's got to have the shit side. And, well, that's going to be the outside. And as it's on the first floor, no one on the outside's generally going to be looking at it. So from that point of view, I can cope with a few bunny ears. But they've said, oh, well, you can just sew it in that kind of casual way. And if you watched me sewing in the ends on the last square, you'll know that it is not just sewing it in. It's a frigging nightmare. But it is, if my concern is that because these threads are so infinitely small, and adding, 50% more thread, i.e. the fact that there would be so for every pin join, it's 4 threads that join together. So, well, at the end, that means there's 2 pairs for every pin along the join. Well, 2 have got to go one way, 2 have got another. And yes, you can zigzag them a little bit, but they're going to meet friends, and it's going to get bulky. And I'm a little concerned that even if you don't go very far, and apparently you only need to go 1 or 2 kind of pinholes up, but, well, if it looks really fat and ugly, it's as obvious as having the bunny ears on the back, right? So maybe if I was doing it for the Queen, once again, not, whatever, if you were doing it for the Queen, maybe you do it proper. This is for me. This needs to work with my sanity. And like you said, if it works, it works. If it works for me and I am happy with it, bite me, I'm happy with it. So a bit of super glue is really not that problematic. I do now own some proper fray check, but the problem I had with the fray stop is in the bottle, the fray check was white. Now, you have to pierce a hole in the end, which is problematic because, well, it's just problematic. So otherwise, none of it comes out. So you have to pierce a hole. So you pierce a hole with it. Well, the moment you squeeze it out the hole, for some reason it turned like nicotine yellow. And I kind of squeezed out a bit more thinking, maybe it's just the, top little tiny bit. No, every single tiny atom of it that came out through this hole was nicotine yellow. It was almost brown. It was almost this colour. And dried a bit lighter. It was horrendous. And it's like, I can't use that. So that went in the bin. Because clearly that's shit. So I have now bought a proper thing of fray check, which right here, right now, I can't see it, but it's still in its packet somewhere. It'll be over in the pile over there. I live in worlds of piles, right? So I have piles of things, and so it will be in the pile over there. In fact, that could be it, but it's under a pile of other things, so let's not disturb the pile. She's quickly just checking on her countertop, because I have piles on my countertop too. No, it's definitely over in the pile. But it does mean that I do have some fray check, so I can use fray check if for a more temporary hold, shall we call it. So what I probably would do is put a tiny blob of fray check on the actual knot and then sew in the knot, so that, because for those who work with any form of thread has kind of a memory. Once it's been in a particular position, it's a bit like hair. If you plait your hair goes kinky. But if you plait your hair for like 30 seconds, it doesn't really care. So, and thread is the same. If you pin it and hold it still, or, leave it in a position for a couple of days, it tends to stay there. It doesn't tend to now want to come undone because, well, it's been made to stay there. So if I put a tiny little, 0.1 of a drop of glue on the knot just to hold the knot still and stop it becoming loose, and I sew in the ends a little bit, that maybe this will be sufficient, but I do want to test it first because, well, at 50 hours I don't really want to do a square and screw it up now, do I? So I will do some element of experiment to try that. I will probably make a really small square to do that on. But I will need a couple of stitches, so I'll need to do it in all 3 stitches. What I'll probably do is almost like a square of, say, this big. So it's got, a small amount of ground, a layer of cloth stitch, and a couple of rows ground in a square, and just kind of, go around in a square and call it a job done, and then try sewing it together at the end. Because that's going to be a nightmare. But it does mean that I have an option and a thought for improvement, and, you know, one lesser good join is not the end of the world. And because obviously there are corners, and the tops of the corners of your net curtain are not usually the thing you look at the most, so it's usually the middle. So if it's not the best, it'll live. So that's definitely a thing. And obviously I'm quite keen for it to be as good as I can do, but I also don't want to spend, 15 hours sewing in ends and for it not to look any better for it. Because if that's kind of the case, then, well, glue it is, right? Super glue for the win. It's because that doesn't take very long. So, it's got to be worth it. It's got to have some kind of almost economic viability, because, well, I don't mind putting in the effort, clearly, but there's effort and there's effort, right? I mean, if it's going to take me 100 hours, two triangles worth to sew it all in, it's probably not worth it. It's obviously I'm hoping that's a very large over-exaggeration, but at the same time, who knows? I haven't done it yet. So, and we all know that I am not the fastest poker of lazy Susan through holes, so that could definitely be a thing. Although I do have a new tool for that. I bought a thing. Because the crochet hook was so bad, I have bought a tambour needle. Now, it is basically a crochet hook, but it's not a crochet hook. So, with any luck, it won't stick on quite so many things. Haven't tried it yet, to be fair to it. But I've got a couple of different sizes. Just wondering, actually, where my lazy Susan went. She says, looking... Oh, there it is. It's right, I was wondering where I'd put it. So, instead of having my bent needle with thread through it, the idea is that you have one of these. And they look like needles, but there's a slot and a hook. So, if I use this thread, it'll be easy. If you do the right angle, it hooks in, but it's not... While it does hook in, the needle itself is smooth. So, for example, when you push it in, it's not got a bulbous bit like a crochet hook. It's flat and kind of pointy. So, it should make it easier for sticking it through the holes, because it's got a bit of a point on it. Which you'll find out when we get there. Again, another cheap shit of something off Amazon. I need to buy more needles for this, because I'm not convinced that this very old needle is... I mean, it's looking pretty sorry for itself. I wanted to buy curved ones, but Amazon don't do curved needles. In fact, most places don't seem to do... Well, they do curved needles. That's not true. That they do curved needles, but they're too big. They are huge, and they are really, really, really curved needles. She says, looking... I'm pretty sure they're still over here. Yeah, they're there. So, they do curved needles, but they look like this. They're huge. I have been there. But there is a lace lady stroke website stroke whatever business who do sell bent needles. Exactly that, for lazy Susans. So, and they actually don't have a pointy end on the other end, so you don't ouch yourself picking them up. Because, well, I definitely ouched myself earlier. I'm very good with ouching myself. So she sells very much the required needles for that, and they're not at all expensive, to be honest. They're really cheap. I think they're like £2 for 4 or something. So, and of course, because you don't blunt them, they do last a really long time, so that's kind of a lifetime supply. So from that point of view, that's fine. I will do that at some point. I mean, that needle's not beyond repair. It's not rusty. It's not... It's just... Well, I don't know how old it is, because it came with the tool and it was second-hand. But some of the coatings come off. It's a mixture of kind of... It almost looks striped. Because some of the coatings come off. So I could do with a new one. And I could bend a normal needle, to be honest. I really could. I got a pair of pliers after all. But, you know, they do sell them, you know, without the Sharpie bit, which is clearly a bonus. Rather than trying to unsharpen one yourself. So yes, as you say though, it is... The problem is, in some ways, is that there are almost too many different craft stores to actually get a whole supply from. You can't just go to a shop and buy the stuff. You have to go to 16 different shops to buy this from there, that from there. And it's not because they're cheaper from, you know, this one does this one cheaper. No, that's just because, well, this lot do all of those, but they don't sell any of that. And this lot sell that, but not any of those. And you can't find a single shop that's actually got everything, which is kind of annoying, to be honest. My favourite lace lady, well, this is it. I mean, the problem is, though, is sometimes you find only one shop sells the exact thing you're looking for, and then you really are kind of trapped in buying it from them or nobody. And the lady who designed the original square that was the inspiration for my squares, her website's been down for over a week now. Now, as an IT person, I can tell you exactly what the fuck's wrong with her website. She doesn't understand it when I try and explain it to her because, well, I think she's 906, and not that that's a bad thing, but she is very untechnical. And as it turns out, the lady who runs her website is also like 906, and I don't think she understands what the problem is either. And I'm sitting there going, well, I do. Because, well, A, I used to work for a web hosting company, and B, well, I've also got my own website. I've actually got a few. Most of them are full of shit and not really worth looking at, but that's so not the point. But I've got websites. I used to work for the web hosting. Well, actually, I've worked for two web hosting companies, technically. And so, you know, one of them is the people who host my website. So... And that's because they were actually quite good and the deals you get from them are quite good, whereas the other one, not so much. And the other one is a real blot on my CV. This one was a voluntary job, so I can include it or not include it as life goes on. But, you know, she's got an SSL certificate issue, which means, and for whatever reason, I think she was late in renewing her domain, so they parked it, or they changed her web server and she's not updated her DNS, and she's like, I don't understand. Well, there's only a handful of things, but basically when people go to your website, it says the SSL certificate's out of date. If you can ignore that, which not all browsers can, so for example I can't ignore it on my iPhone, it will tell you that it's parked. Your domain is not on the end of where it's pointing. Now either that is because it has been parked deliberately because you didn't pay, or you parked it, which is unlikely, or your DNS is actually needing to point to a different server. So, and it's been a week now, and I know she was originally on holiday, and there was the kind of, well, okay, you're on holiday, you know, can't expect you to fix it, but then if you're not running your website, well, somebody should fix it, and you know, because someone asked me, oh, where did you get the pattern for your square? And I said, well, it's, you know, it was inspired by these. Oh, well, their website's down. Yeah, she's going to fix it when she's back from holiday. Well, you know, it's not exactly the best time to go on holiday in the UK. So, I thought she was only going away for the weekend, but here we are, it's Wednesday and her website still doesn't work. So, I'm not going to chase her on it. It's her business that's going down the pan. I was trying to be helpful by telling her her website was down. She didn't even know. So she's obviously got no monitoring on it either. But it is that kind of thing, is love. It gives the impression your business has gone out. It really does. People are going to stop coming back and checking because it's been over a week now and, well, you're obviously not interested. They think you'll have shut down. So she's kind of out of business at the moment because she can't do anything because her website's down. It's not for lack of trying. And this is where kind of a few autistic brain cells go, look, I tried to be helpful, you didn't want it, so you drown in your problems and I'll just sit and watch, because, you know, I gave you an opportunity, I could have helped, I could have, you know, been more helpful, but you chose not to, so, you know, 'tis your right, but you're not going to get no sympathy from me now. Which reminds me, we never did hear as to why that was. Mind you, I left the group in a slight strop, so we had a problem with something at work, and it was a very similar kind of thing, which is why it made me think of it. And an external thing was down. Or sorry, the monitoring was reporting the external thing was down. But we all knew that the external thing was up. But because we'd replaced the servers, it was kind of like, well, maybe it's because we've moved the servers, you know. Oh, no, we kept the external IP addresses the same. Okay, so it's not that. Well, what's it actually monitoring then? Because clearly it must be monitoring the wrong shit. An hour later, someone in the chat wakes up and kind of goes, yeah, so what are we actually monitoring? Yeah, I asked that an hour ago and no one answered. And so I left. I'm sorry, but you know, the same person's done this to me a couple of times. You know, I'll be in a meeting, there'll be an urgent issue. We had one where we had to make a decision and we invited all the right people to the group and they weren't, you know, they were showing zero interest. So I said, right, well, clearly the answer is we've got to do A or B. I'm going to suggest that A is the better solution. Here's why. We'll do this. We'll put in the change control. You know, we'll do all of that. We'll do all these things. By the time this person woke up, we'd done it. And they then started typing out War and Peace as to, you know, well, you can't, you know, it is a great concern that this is happening. And it's like, yeah, we know. That's why we invited you into the chat, moron. You know. And they then spent like an hour explaining the options. And it's like, did you not read what I wrote? And I actually turned around and went, did you not read the text above? And it was like, well, yes, I'm agreeing with you. And I said, well, then just say that. Don't spend 40 minutes typing out War and Peace when your answer is, Liz is right. She's made the right call. You know, that's all you had to say. Really, it was. You know, yes, you can add a few more legalese to it, but no one cares. As long as the decision is right, and that, you know, we'll reevaluate it because we knew we had to. And, well, funny enough, it's still a problem because no one's done anything about it. And, you know, I've chased it up a few times. No one's interested. I've lost interest in it too then. If, you know, if it doesn't bother you, mate, it's your shit. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. You know, it's a bit like if you've got a burst water pipe and I come over and I go, hi, do you know that your water pipe's leaking? And you kind of go, yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, if in a week's time it's still leaking and I pass you and I go, oh, have you managed to fix your leak yet? And you kind of go, what? Whatever. And walk on. If you're not worried about your burst water pipe, mate, I'm not going to worry about your burst water pipe. Yeah, it comes out of your pocket. See you later. You know, it's how you stay sane, everybody. You can't take everybody else's worries home with you. Especially from work. If you've done your duty to report them to the right people, you've offered your suggestions and your advice, if relevant, what else can you have done? Because if you did anything about it without asking, you'd be bad because you did something, and how dare you didn't have approval. So you have to go through all the right channels, and if they can't be bothered, don't worry about it. We had some servers that weren't patching, and I knew the answer. Well, I knew an answer. Don't use the patching system we paid for, use my one, which I wrote, because my one works really well. And after about 3 years, Liz, we need to have a meeting because, you know, these servers aren't patching correctly. Yeah, okay. We know roughly what the problem is. Oh, do you? Yes. The patching system says I'm waiting, and the client says it's waiting, but no one knows what it's waiting on, and it never gets around to it. Oh. And I said, well, of course, if you open these ports for me, I can use mine, and it'll be done in 4 minutes. What do you mean? Well, I can add it to the internal one. It takes 4 minutes to patch all 200 servers. Oh. So what ports you need? This and this. Oh. Now, normally these ports are hideous sins, right? These are the most sinnable ports you can ask for. Both of them got approved. I had them by the end of the day. I patched the servers. Ta-da! And it was kind of, oh, that went so well. Well, yeah, it's because my shit just does it. Never mind. Which reminds me, I suppose I should look at my other system I was going to write. I don't see why I'm doing it now, but we'll find out. But yeah, more craft shops. I mean, one of the things that I find really sad is that, certainly in the UK, I don't know about the rest of the world, but certainly in the UK, it is uncommon these days to find a craft shop. And if you do find one, it's usually full of shit, or it's tiny. There'll be like one shelf with 3 balls of wool on it or something. It's not really a craft shop. It is, you know, I mean, obviously back in the day, there used to be entire shops designated for knitting, right? But, I mean, I do think there is one off in Cheltenham somewhere, but I haven't really, you know, I've seen odd shops. So, for example, I know that Evesham Garden Centre has a shop that sells yarn, but it's like one shelf, and it's kind of like, it's not really a lot of options, is it? I mean, let's face it, I want 63 shelves of just one type with all the different colours, thanks, and I need to be able to buy an entire jumper full or blanket full of any of them. I don't want one ball of 6 of the 73 shades that they sell, thanks. So, yeah, I'm not aware of local shops, certainly around here. There are some I can arguably get to, but they're not that good even when you do, so you're not really inclined to bother. We used to have a Hobbycraft, or whatever it's called, which of course is full of shit. It's full of the tackiest crap ever known to man. So that's not really a plan. Yeah, I don't know. I'm aware of, as I say, I'm aware of a couple of shops. I do believe there is actually a shop with like weaving looms and spinning wheels somewhere in Evesham. Never been, so can't answer that. So, you know, that's not that far a drive. It's, what 45 minutes to an hour or something. And I'm pretty sure at one point there was another one down in Bristol. But again, there's just this whole kind of, there's nothing local. It's not like you can wander down the high street. I mean, don't get me wrong, wandering to the high street from here is quite difficult, but, well, you know, wander down the nearest high street and find a shop that sells. Because, well, there isn't anywhere in the nearest 3 towns with, like, a high street, because my town doesn't have one. Lucky you. But, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm kind of glad that they're not within walking distance. Oh, that's really cool. I mean, I do know that there is a sewing machine, well, a shop, seashells, yeah, I know. There is a sewing machine shop in Cheltenham, because I've spoken to them. Never been, but I am aware there is one. As I say, there's a spinning wheel stroke weaving loom place, but I'm not entirely convinced they have much of a range in there. Up in Evesham somewhere. And as I say, I think there's another spinny wheel stroke weaving-y shop down in Bristol. But in terms of yarn shop, I'm pretty sure, because I did drive through Cheltenham, it was quite a while ago, but I did drive through Cheltenham. Pretty sure I remember driving past and thinking, oh, that's a wool shop, because there was wool in the actual window. But I never got to go in it, so that might have been their entire collection. There used to be a shop in Cheltenham, I think that's destroyed now because it was a while ago, that did like a Tuesday afternoon knitting session. Well, that's nice, but for those of us who work, and of course don't really want to pay the £16 parking fee for Cheltenham, not entirely ideal. You've got to live really local to that to want to go, because you don't really want to pay 16 quid to sit in there. Plus, you're not allowed to go in there unless you actually buy something as well. Now, obviously, if you're a decent yarn shop, you know, buying a ball of wool or whatever, you know, a packet of needles or something, you know, you could probably muster that. But at the same time, every week, that's beginning to ask a little much. And so I don't know. There's certainly nothing in the village where I live. The village I used to live in, which is not that far away, it's about a mile away, so is quite a big village, so it's more of a small town size village. They don't have shit either. They've got a big Tesco's and a Lidl and some other stuff, and, you know, there's no banks in there anymore because they all closed down, but they've got a grocer's and a synopticians and some other things. But there's no crafty stuff. There's a second-hand store. There is a clothes shop. There is a butcher's who seems to be open one afternoon a week. I shit you not. There's a shoe shop where I've never actually seen anyone buy anything. So how they're still in business, Lord only knows. I did go in there once on the off chance that they must have great shoes. No. It was like going into a second-hand shop for shoes, but with first-hand prices. Literally, you walked in and there were like the second-hand shoe racks, so kind of like just a pile of racks with shoes on, not like proper shelves with, you know, carefully, beautifully arranged stuff. No, it was just kind of almost like a standard shoe rack with piles of random shoes on them, not even grouped by size or by boot stroke, shoe stroke, sandal, nothing like that. Just literal, you know, there'd be like, you know, a child's pair of shoes next to granddad's big flat, you know, sandals or something, right? And you know, when I asked them if they had kind of like, do you have a, you know, a boot in this size? Oh, I'm not sure. You're a friggin' shoe shop. But, you know, I've got average size shoes for a woman. It's not like I'm after size boat with, you know, in extra, extra, extra wide. I'm after possibly one of the most common shoe sizes for women. And you're not sure you have any boots. Yeah. So I didn't buy anything in the end. It is, you know, there is no bookshop, there is a hairdresser's, but it's round the corner, round the back, and by appointment only, and they charge a stinking fortune. There isn't a barber's for the blokes, there's only the hairdressers. There's a key cutters stroke cobblers. It's kind of it. Oh, a couple of doctors. For some reason, we have two. Well, technically, we've got three lots of doctors, actually. We have a lot of doctors around here. I know, I mean, seriously. My doctor's has, is it 12, 14 GPs in it? There's one in the high street that's got, like, 5 or 6. And then there's a bigger one at the topper end that's got another kind of 10, 12. Seriously, dudes? How sick are all you people? I don't go to the... I mean, I will have to go to the doctor for a blood pressure check for one of me pills, but I'd rather not. I mean, the truth and the reality is I've been on the same pill now for, I don't know, 30-something years and some more. I really think if I was going to do something exciting with it, I'd have done it by now. Just feed me my pills and that. They give me a year's supply, don't get me wrong, but I have to go in for a blood pressure check, which always feels slightly unnecessary. And like last year, I asked if I could book my flu jab while I was in there, and they were, oh no, you can't do that the same day. They're too busy. Well, funny enough, I turned up. There was only me in the waiting room for an hour, and an hour later, there was still only me in the waiting room. I went in, and there was no one in the waiting room now. And, oh yeah, we're too busy. Doing what? You're not seeing patients? Isn't that the whole point of the nurses? You're supposed to see patients. No one's come and gone for an hour, and there's no one out there waiting. Oh, isn't there? No. Oh, well, there should be. Well, there ain't. And when I left, there still wasn't. So, this isn't right. Liz, you've screwed that up somehow. Undo that. No. Why does... Oh, no. That is... No, I was right. Thank you very much. You haven't screwed that up. You were right. So yeah, my doctor's is a bit weird. But then, to be honest, my doctor's is like so many of the doctors in the UK. You know, you need an appointment, you know, because you're dying of lurgy or something, and you phone up for an appointment. Well, you phone up to get something from the doctor because, you know, your toe's going to drop off or whatever. And it's like, oh, can you take a picture of it and fill it on the website? And I did that for something. They'd asked, and I explained that, you know, I have this on this, and, you know, it's not going down, and, you know, it's kind of nasty and gnarly. And I'm not really comfortable with putting that particular part of my body online on a website, but okay. Do you know what I got back? Oh, we weren't sure which body part it was. I wrote on them exactly which body part it was. Oh, did you? Oh, if you're not even going to read it, love, I mean, you know. They then took a sample, gave me some antibiotics, asked me to come in and do a swab of it, just so that they could test which bacteria and stuff it was, and which I did. They got it back and kind of went, did it help? And I went, no. And they went, yeah, the bacteria that you've got doesn't look like it would respond to that. Right, so what we did? Oh, I don't know. What? So they never did anything about it. Gotta love it, really. Why does that look... Why does that look a bit... That looks odd because it is odd. Something about this is wrong. Hang on. I put you in the wrong place, I think, which has thrown me off. So let's undo you. And undo you. Take you out. Yoink. Undo you. And look at the fact that actually you were supposed to go in there. Like that. And then you're done. And now we do the bottom one. Which now makes me worry I've screwed up more of the others. I don't think I have. You know how it is, once you've screwed up one, your brain questions all the other things that it's ever done. So, really confident I'm good. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, you all look kind of squarish, so if you are wrong, you shouldn't. It's not as what it looks like, so let's pop you over there. Yeah, I'd like to see... I think the problem is because crafting is no longer cheap like it used to be. So, when I was a kid, in Ruislip High Street, there was a big store. I can't remember the name of it. It had a stupid name. But there was a big store that kind of had clothes and stuff on the ground floor. And then, like, carpets and crafty stuff on the top floor. And, you know, it was... You know, it sold lace and fabric and, you know, various other things. Mainly lace and fabric. Mainly fabric, to be fair. But it had, you know, there was a shop. There was also a crafty shop in Ruislip Manor. And, you know, it sold crafty things as well as things local people had made that you could buy. So, you know, back then, there seemed to be crafty shops everywhere, because of course everybody did. People made their own clothes, people knitted their own jumpers because it was cheaper. Whereas today it's not cheaper by a long stretch. You know, you can go down kind of Matalan and Pound World or whatever it's called, and, you know, frankly everywhere almost has jumpers far cheaper than any of us crafters could ever make you one. And even if we made it out of cheap, nasty acrylic, we still wouldn't be able to afford to make it for the cost that you can buy a jumper from anywhere else. And so from that point of view, I think a lot of the shops died out because not everyone can afford to do crafting. You know, like I said to you, if you think of how much these bobbins cost, I consider a bobbin a reasonable price when it's less than £1. But that makes that there is, I think... Hi, Mango. One thing that is quite easy with lace work is that, let me show you. So here I have 2 pairs of bobbins either side. They're going to make this square here. Let me zoom in on this square here for you. Hang on. Right, so this square here, I'm going to make. But if you look, it's not so obvious with these, but if you look at, say, these ones that come out of here, they naturally come out at this kind of angle, which means these two will actually go feed these 2 pins here. So to a large extent, you don't need to keep track of them. They kind of do that for themselves. And there's only 2 moves to lace making, so you either cross or twist, and whichever combinations require, and to be honest, most of it is about consistency rather than what you actually do. And so to make my magic square, I do a cross and twist, and I put a pin in the pinhole, and then we do covering of the pin, so basically you do the same again. And then I take the next pair and I cross and twist and make the next pin in the pinhole and cover the pin. And then I use these 2 to do the next pinhole, so these are the other side. So I cross and twist and stabby a hole pin in the hole and cover my pin. Now I have one in the middle, so I use the two middle pairs of bobbins, and I do a cross and twist, and I stab it with a pin when I can pick up only one pin. And then cover the pin. And then to make it pointy as a square, you do a magic twiddle on the end. That's that side of the square. And then you do a magic twiddle this side. And then you start all over again. So from that point of view, it's not hard to keep track of where all the bobbins go. In fact, I'm going to stick some of my bobbins, because I don't need them anymore. So, come on. I need you to stop messing around, and I'll put you 2 in here, because I don't need you 2 anymore for a bit. Thank you. It is certainly more daunting. The one thing I struggle with is I do get anxiety over bobbin quantities, right? So all of these bobbins, if they were not kind of held together with sticks, my brain would be quietly panicking, because like computer cables, bobbins have an amazing knack of tangling when at all humanly possible. And as a result of which, of course, this means you come back and discover that, frankly, all you've got is a rat's nest of knots. So, while you will see many seasoned lace makers believing and trusting their bobbins will be exactly where they left them, I have dogs, and my dogs have already proved their capabilities of disrupting my lace pillow more than once. And so, as a result, we do not leave bobbins to chance. I stick them out the way like that and pile them up so that I get a bit more room. Oh look, ads, joy. Sorry. There you go, you should be back from ads now. Yeah, I mean, it's... Yay! So yes, I mean, to be honest, you don't have to keep track of them too well. There are times where fudging it up really good is very possible. So, for example, this solid bit along here is in a thing called cloth stitch, which basically makes, like you see with any normal cloth, the undery, overy, weavy thing. And when you work in one direction, you have 6 pairs and 5 pairs. And when you work, so let's call this the zig, that is the 6-5 pair. When you work this way, it's more like 3 and 4. And as a result, A, it looks skinnier if you actually look carefully at it, because, well, it is skinnier. Secondly, your brain starts to melt, and your brain convinces you that you have the wrong number of bobbins, because, of course, it's a bit like if you think too hard about how your car steers. Well, if you think of how your car steers, right? Your car is a fixed rectangle. It's not like it bends in the middle. As a result, then, while you point the wheels in a marginally different direction, you are all but breaking the laws of simpleness as to how your car moves sideways. If you're travelling at any speed, you slowly drift in the right direction, for want of a better word. Which is why you can't do really sharp turns at fast speeds, because it just doesn't work. And to be honest, lace making has that kind of brain fart, if you think about it too much, now none of it makes any sense kind of attitude. Because obviously the zigs and the zags, so for example, I spent quite a lot of one stream because my brain had farted. Hey Fairy Dust, welcome to the channel. That's not a, it is a lot of bobbins. Well, brains melt, to be honest. That's what mine does a lot of the time. So, for example, she said digging out her piece of paper. I have here the answer to everything. And this is how to make the zig and the zag. And it starts off with 2 pairs at number 1, and then you add a pair and get 3, and you add a pair and get 4, you add a pair and get 5, and then you add a pair and get 6, but then you take one away, so now you have 5. You add 1 and you get 6. And it tells me where I add, because you take some away and pin, and sometimes, well, you don't take away a pair and pin, but you pin and take some away, or you add some and pin. So you have various numbers of bobbins, and so at any one point in time, I can use this chart to determine which kind of bit of the zig and the zag I am in, and refer to this so that when my brain's going, oh, I think I got the wrong number of bobbins, I haven't. So, for example, as you can look through here, I've got 6s and 5s, but down here I have 5s and 4s. And then, obviously, as you get towards the bottom, you have 3s and 2s. And so, they're... To be honest, for me, the direct number of bobbins doesn't alarm me. It's where to put them when you don't want them, because obviously you need a bit of room to work. And to be honest, it's nice to have a reasonable kind of this size chunk to do your work in. And when I was doing this bit earlier, it got to a point where there's like, I can't remember how many it is. Hang on. I'm not going to count them absolutely, but I think that's about 5. So I'm going to say there's 15 pairs of bobbins going across the bottom of that, give or take a few, right? Because I'm not going to count them. Sorry. Actually, hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I was right. I'm a sad individual. I'm good at my guesstimates. So there's 15 pairs of bobbins. That's 30 bobbins. Trying to fit them all and move them all around and just gets really frustrating. And so there are times like that it does get annoying, which is why I have my piles of bobbins at the back, trying to keep them out of the way so they are not involved in the shenanigans of the moment. But obviously, I mean, obviously this is, I mean, if I show you my current status, so we have done one triangle out of this square. So underneath here, there is a triangle. If I briefly pull back, you'll see that there is, well, you can't really see because of my arm, but if you look, there is a bit of triangle hiding under there. So all the bobbins are already attached to the pillow. When I was starting out, I tried to wait until as last as humanly possible to add some of the bobbins, because, well, when they're not attached to the pillow, they're not in the way. So it meant that I worked all the way, I worked down to here, and then I worked down to here, and then so I had 5 pairs left, and I literally left those till the last minute. And then kind of, we did this little section across the bum. But it does get quite frustrating having piles of bobbins, and I'm not particularly a nervous person, but it does give me a level of anxiety, because to untwiddle all of those bobbins is a freaking nightmare. And when the dog knocked the pillow over, and I didn't have them in piles like this, I had different sticks, and basically they all kind of went, stuff the sticks, free, we are free, and tangled. It took a really long time to untangle them all. And so as a result of that, hey, we now use... It was close. And that was definitely close. It really was that kind of dog, you need to leave and go and sit in the bottom of the garden before I want to kebab you. It's the please leave my presence before I commit violence on you, for which I would deeply regret. But right here, right now, keep out my way. I'm not in the mood for it. And so it is it does cause considerable stress. Now, on a bolster cushion, which is kind of round, chucking your bobbins over the back works really well. And it is frightening how well it works. None of this carefully piling bobbins up and trapping them. You just kind of go, bobbiny, bobbiny, bobbin, yeet, and you yeet them over the back. And when you want to pick them up, you just go, I want those two. And it's always the right two. When you do it on a flat pillow, it doesn't work. You cannot yeet bobbins on a flat pillow. In fact, even placing them gently to the side, they can still tangle. So it is a little bit of a concerning factor. And hence I've got the many sticks. So let me move that. But I have many sticks of trapping. So I have many more. Because you can never have too many sticks of trapping. Because these are quite elasticated. So I've moved them. The original sticks that I had with elastic on, which were designed for bobbins, kind of... Well, the elastic had the power of a wet tissue. In that if you took the stick and the elastic and you pulled, you could get kind of this kind of level of gap. Whereas if I take one of these and plonk it together as it should be, if I pull this, I'm pulling as hard as I can, and you can see the needles bending, but that's as much as it opens. So it does kind of firmly hold the bobbins. Now, obviously, it's not designed for bobbins. They're designed for knitting. But they do hold bobbins pretty darn well. And so from that point of view, we like sticks. By the way, if you've ever seen Badger, it's a stick, it's a stick. I know it's supposed to be a snake, but it works. Anyway, so I have... sticks. Yeah, I used to be married, and when my dad was alive, I used to have a weekly phone call with my dad. We had other phone calls. I love a good bit of Badger. Anyway, my dad had limited things that he did, because he was retired. He retired early, in fact. If I was my dad, I would have retired like 2.5 years ago, right? I envy my dad. I wish I could have retired 2.5 years ago. I really do. Anyway, my dad retired, and my dad had, when he was younger, a shed load of hobbies. But once he retired, all he really did was watch Border Force and Police Stop or whatever. And he smoked himself to death, frankly, because all he did all day was smoke his pipe and watch telly. And to him, a busy week was walking the dogs 100 yards up the road to the vet. That was a busy week. And you're like, Dad, I can do that like 6 times in a week if the dog's ill. and hold down a full-time job and do this and do, like, you know, karate lessons and what do you mean that's a busy week? Anyway, but when my dad was alive, the phone call had 3 core topics of conversation. My dad, now I need to prelude this with a slight segue of a story, but when I was really little, thanks for following, Fairy Dust. When I was about 6, the Royal Ballet came to our school and watched us all, you know, prance around. Well, it was to an extent, but my dad, when I was 6, the Royal Ballet came to school and watched us all prance around and pretend to be flowers or whatever we did. I don't actually remember them coming. What I do remember was afterwards, my parents told me that I'd been offered a place at the Royal Ballet School. Now, I have the grace of a frigging bull elephant, I really do. So, and I don't hate my dad for this, but at the same time, it started a trend in my parents. Anyway, my dad decided I was going to be, in his words, now bear in mind, at the age of 10, I was 5'4" and 3 stone, so just picture that. That's fucking skinny. My dad told me I was going to be too big and too fat. Now, I am too fat now, but I'm 52 now, right? You know. Anyway, so my dad said that I couldn't go to the Royal Ballet School. Now, I was not overly into being a ballerina. It was not one of my little girly dreams. So I was not overly cut up by that. What did cut me up was like 4 years later when I took up gymnastics, and I enjoyed gymnastics and I wanted to be a gymnast. I was offered a place to join with the Olympic squad. My parents said no. That I resented a lot, a heck of a lot. Now, don't get me wrong, as an adult I've worked out why, but they could. Yeah, so that one I do resent, even though I understand that we just didn't have the money for it. We really didn't. But it was, you know, it was a sore point because obviously I really had my heart set on that. That I did want to do. The ballet school, yeah, I didn't really care. I remembered it, and I remembered my parents had stopped me, but it was kind of like, yeah, maybe they were right. Whereas this was bitterness, and well, here I am 52, I've not forgiven them. So, and part of the reason I am fat is because, well, I never got to. I did take up gymnastics again as an adult years later, and I was reasonably good at it, but, you know, I was too old, and then I became really ill, and so I had to stop. And then we moved, and there's nothing really around here. Although apparently there are things now. At 21 stone, you don't do gymnastics, not without breaking shit, so let's not. Hippos do not do gymnastics. It's not the thing. It's not Fantasia. We're not full of grace. But I was not particularly pissed at the Royal Ballet School until my dad kind of announced one of his hobbies. Now, he used to go to the ballet a bit when I was a kid, but not a lot. He'd go like once a year to see Nutcracker or something, right? Once I left home, and especially once my mother had walked out on him, it was his delight to go to watch the ballet. And he went more often. Didn't really bother me. It's his money. He can do what he likes, you know. And he really kind of got into it. Now, I'm sorry, but, you know, you're an old bloke, mate. You know, it is slightly weird, but, you know, okay, you enjoy the ballet. What became a little too creepy was that he then supported the up-and-coming Royal Ballet School, hence the segue story, right? And you've got to remember that, you know, Darcy Bustle, who was one of his favourite ballerinas, was not that much younger than me. Maybe I could have been Darcy Bustle. He had stopped that. And so the fact that he was now paying for other people to be taught at the ballet school, I mean, he was not full scholarship kind of paying, but he was donating, let's call it a hefty stump of money to the ballet school, to the point there was an award with his name on it, right? That you know, there was a bit of resentment because, well, Dad, you're so into ballet, but you stopped me doing it. Cheers for that. And I live in Gloucestershire, which is near Wales, for those who aren't overly au fait with, you know, UK geography, which is fine. My dad was in London. My dad flew out to China to watch Royal Ballet pupils prance around. He would not come to Cheltenham because it was too far. He would not drive to Gloucestershire. And I'm sorry, but it's an hour in the car, Dad. I occasionally, my dad wanted to go to a ballet one evening, and it was fireworks night, which is the 5th of November, obviously a good few years ago. And I got, I can't get a dog sitter. Is there any chance you can come down? I had to do a full day's work, drive to London, dog sit for my dad. He came home about midnight, drive for an hour back, and then go to work the following morning. That was fine. But he couldn't come see me. Oh no, it's too far in his big fat Mercedes, right? But he could go to China. Again, slightly It's especially wild when I'm his only daughter and he had no other family. So, wasn't really a big ask. And it's not like I asked him to do it. To be honest, if he had ever offered, I probably would have said, no, don't do that, Dad. I'll come to you. But the fact that he Well, I think that's the thing is that, by the way, he's now in a box in my other room, and occasionally I yell at him, well, you're here now, huh? Right? Because there is a little bit of, you know, to it all. But it's not that, but at the same time, it's not like I hated him for not coming. I resented the fact that he would not consider it. I am a creature of weirdness and a bit part Vulcan in the sense of I embrace many technicalities. And to me, it was the fact that, so you're prepared to fly around the world at great expense to yourself, but you can't be asked to sit in I wanted him to come to my black belt grading when I did karate. He wouldn't come. It's too far. You only have to come to me. I will be driving you there and back. You can even stay here. Oh no, I can't do that. But you'll fly out to China to watch somebody else's children, you creep. You know, prancing around in tutus. But you won't come see your only daughter do something that she's worked for many years and has asked you kindly to come. It's not even like it costs you money. No, wouldn't come. He came for my wedding. He came for my 30th birthday. For my 30th birthday, I think we were going to have a barbecue, and we invited, it was going to be when he was going to meet the future in-laws, because I was not married at that point. So we invited them and said, you know, barbecue starts at 2. My dad rocked up at 4, and of course, my soon-to-be husband's parents had been and gone, because, well, it was kind of over. He showed up, and he literally was there like 15 minutes and left. And it was kind of, you came for 15 minutes. What? Oh, well, it's so late. Well, perhaps if you'd started off before, like, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then, of course, he came for when I got married. He spent the least amount of time humanly possible. So he arrived about 2 minutes before the wedding car did to pick me up. And he left the moment we put the knives and forks down on the food. And he'd done his speech. That was it. He'd gone. And it's kind of like, thanks for that. Thanks for feeling like you care, Dad. I mean, Christ, even, you know, there were some people there that we'd obligatory had to invite that we didn't necessarily want. Even they stayed longer than that. So, and those were the only 2 times he came up to see me. So, he didn't really spend a lot of time here. Well, he's been here for what? Must be 6 years now? Nah. Hence he occasionally gets things like that because, well, you're here now, aren't you? Can't escape now. Go on, try it. God dare you. It's The other one that he gets is the, my dad and I only ever really had an argument over, well, my dad and I had a raving argument over one thing. Taxes. Now, my dad was an accountant, so my dad, of all people, should really understand this, but he clearly didn't. My dad told me, you only ever pay tax on money once. Really, Dad? So, when I earn it, I pay taxes that go to the government, and, you know, they take like a third of my salary. Then if I buy shit, currently that's 20%, so they now take 20% of the 70% of my salary I first had. Another 20% of that is taken as taxes. If I save it, well, you get taxed on any interest. If you buy a house, you have to pay stamp duty, which is a tax, of 2% of the value of your house. So if you move, it's not 2% on the difference in value. No, it's another 2%. It's 2% on the whole thing. You don't get the tax back from the first one. So I'm sorry, Dad. And of course, when my dad died, the inheritance laws of the time meant that anything over a certain value, I had to pay taxes on. Well, it was bought with shit that had already been taxed. All the money he ever earned, he never did any fiddles. Every penny he earned, saved, whatever, they had tax paid on it. Well, if I'm now paying tax on it, on money that and items that he bought, because you have, you know, it's done on the value of the estate. So even if you kept it all, you've obviously got to be able to pay off the tax pocket at the end, which is why you end up selling everything. But you're left sitting there going, so for your house, dear lovely father, I had to pay a considerable amount of tax on it, and I could never have kept the house unless I sold my house to pay the tax on yours. Now, rather annoyingly, not long later, COVID happened, and I mean, it was long enough, but not that long later. If he'd followed the doctor's instructions, he might have lasted that long. First of all, the tax limit had gone up, but secondly, I work from home now. So, well, if I worked from home then, I could have lived in his house and been quite happy because it was my house as a child. And I would have liked that, but I had to sell it, and I didn't really want to sell it, but I couldn't afford not to sell it because I had to pay the tax bill. And just as a kind of following, the tax bill is somewhere close to 5 or 6 times the amount that I earn, right? So there was no way I was going to be able to kind of, and you can't pay it off in chunks. You can't kind of go, well, I'll give you 100 quid a month or anything. No. You have to pay it kind of within, I think it's 6 months or something. It is quite a short period of time. And so, you know, you kind of have to do it. And now, obviously, because the house isn't liquidated yet, you can't pay that, but they are still expecting you, and they're almost kind of going, where's our money? We want to put interest on that. It hasn't sold yet. Oh, well, yeah, that just sounds like a you problem, you know. And so, for all of that, you know, if you'd, done what the doctor said, he probably would have lasted a bit longer, because I think it was 6 months later they upped some of the inheritance stuff. But, you know, it was a hard time because, well, I'm sorry, but the government got a heck of a lot of money for doing what now? When I was driving between home and London every day to visit him, because I still had to hold down my job, where was the government then? Well, I don't see them, repairing my car or paying for my petrol or, there's no sympathy tax. You can have a couple of days off work. Woo. But as the only child, I had to sort out absolutely everything. And I live, an hour and a bit away from where my dad did. So, I couldn't be there every day to sort things out and to do things. And to make matters worse, while the contents of my dad's house, my dad had been under the illusion that he had some really priceless things. Well, I won't say priceless, but really almost priceless things in his house. So he had a specifically well-known ballet artist's pictures, and he had like 48 of the bastard things, right? And he was convinced that they were all 1,500 to £2,000 worth per picture. No. According to the artists themselves, they're worthless. My dad had really thought that he was buying an investment. Interestingly, of course, the artist did say, if you give them to me, I can donate them to the Royal Ballet. Bitch, if anyone's going to donate them to the Royal Ballet, I will. Why should you get the credit? Just because you drew them, 20 years ago. They're still mine. No. And, they didn't really sell. No one really wanted them because, frankly, some of them are bloody awful. I can't draw for toffee, but some of them, even I can do that bad. But he had hundreds of, he had a bit of Royal Ballet bar. He had all manner of shit that, memorabilia and things, and a bunch of ballet shoes, and a whole pile of crap. But back to the Badger story. So my dad was really into ballet. The next thing my dad was obsessed with, dog poo. You have no idea how much conversation can be had in the world over the consistency of dog poo. Every week, we would have 20 to 30 minutes on the consistency of his dog's poo. And how this week so-and-so was not, his poo was better this week, but so-and-so's was worse. And my dad being my dad, I'm autistic to a level, but not severely, and I think my dad was the same, right? But my dad to the point, he kind of, this dog gets one handful of this and, quarter of a handful of that and a bit of this because, this seems to help with this. And Dad, just feed them as dog treats. If a particular type of dog treat seems to help with some ailment you've imagined out of your mind, then, instead of feeding them bonios as dog treats, feed them the treats that you think help. Oh, they must have some more. Yeah, maybe they do, Dad. Do you really think I give a shit? Anyway, one time, I made, it was meant as a facetious comment, sadly, I proved to be right, which was even worse. I'd gone to fill up my dog's bowls, and I was overwhelmed by the smell of chlorine. Now, in the UK, they do put chlorine in our drinking water to keep it kind of clean and healthy as it goes through some old skanky pipes. Now, it's not usually that obvious. But on one particular occasion, filling up like a litre or two into the dog bowl, it stank like a swimming pool. My whole kitchen just smelled like a swimming pool. And I made the kind of flippant comment to my dad, perhaps it's the water. And because he'd had some stomach issues and he'd bought himself a Brita filter. And I said, well, run the dog's water through that then. And of course he did, and it all magically cleared up. So I, of course, was heralded as saviour of the universe. But the dog poo stories were epic. Finally, around this time of year, when the leaves start falling off the trees, the third obsession of my dad was leaves in the garden. My dad could talk for 2 hours about the leaves falling in the garden and how much he'd cleared up and how many of them there were. So, Badger became bally, 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 dog poo, bally, 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 bally. It's a leaf! It's a leaf! It's a leaf! Yep. I can't forget Badger. And he's now my ex-husband, but the problem is it was so true. It wouldn't have been funny if it wasn't true, right? And as I say, I loved my dad. I really, really did love my dad. But, the conversation every Sunday was basically the same. And it was because he didn't do anything. He'd watched a bit of Border Force, a bit of, police patrol or whatever. And they were the only things in his life that changed. So come the phone call, that's all he had to talk about. And it's kind of depressing, frankly. But, we were walking around the dog park once, me and the husband, and he came up with that. And we kind of fell around the park rolling on the floor because it was funny. And secondly, it lives gently in my mind. just because it was funny, but it's kind of an inside joke. But at the same time, it's one you can share. It obviously needs some explanation. You can't just kind of sing it at people for them to go, oh, what the fuck's that? You need the kind of background story of the obsessiveness of the man, right? But it lives gently in my head. And I almost can't hear Badger Badger now without thinking about that. And so hence I quite like Badger Badger. And by the way, you can still find it on YouTube. It is a glorious and great thing because it was so simple. I mean, to be fair, the original Badger Badger, a bit like the hamster dance, was a little bit drug-filled, really. I mean, it was kind of a bit, why? But we loved it. And by the way, hamster dance is also incredible. But I find myself remembering fondly of these moments. And so Badger Badger definitely lives on. And, well, obviously we didn't actually tell my dad that while he was alive because, well, it kind of was slightly insulting, but at the same time, kind of really funny. It was a bit like in his eulogy, which I really struggled to write. My dad, when I was a child, was a carpenter. And so hence he had lots of hobbies, but one of them was being a carpenter, and he made many, many things. One of the things he made, well, two of the things he made was, one, his kitchen, two, the sofa and chairs in the sitting room. Now, there they were, some 30 years later, still there. Church pews are more fucking comfortable. You have never sat on anything as uncomfortable as the chair and the sofas that my dad made. Most sofas have a slanting back, so that you can not recline in them, but that you can sit comfortably. That you are not sat up bolt upright like someone's put a broom handle up your butt. Apparently, my dad made his bolt upright to try and stop me slouching. Well, first of all, did anyone actually not realise that when I slouch, it's the only time my back's straight? It took someone a little bit more medical to notice this. But so my parents were obsessed with me slouching because, of course, well, my back would hurt if I didn't. Which is part of the reason I struggle doing this, because I need to slouch and I can't slouch and do this. And which is part of the reason it's good to stop and talk, because I can have a slouch while I do. And everyone who sat on those chairs and couches, fuck, they're uncomfortable. And, as I say, 30 years later, they were still there. So part of his eulogy was about these godforsaken things, because, frankly, I didn't know a single person who, wouldn't queue up to burn them now he'd died, right? So it was it was a testament to how well he built them, that 30 years later, his, sofa and chairs and the stools that he made to go with, because he turned the woodwork and he did all sorts of manner of this. The problem was it was flimsy as arse. So, I mean, for example, I've got wooden sofa and chairs here. They came with the house, funnily enough. I kind of went, and they went, oh yes, we'll have to enter them. Is there any chance that I could buy any of the furniture? And they went, well, kind of which bits you're interested in? I said, well, frankly, pretty much anything in the sitting room. And if you want to leave the shelves in the little study place, that would be great. And they kind of went, well, and I said, if you don't want to clear the house, I can always clear anything I don't want and give it to charity. And they kind of went, that'll be great, I don't have to do that. Excellent, or up for all of that. So they gave me everything. So I got this beautiful, because it really is beautiful, couch and chairs, and I got a TV stand and a set of drawers and a table, and I've got a couple of spare beds upstairs and these shelves. I mean, it wasn't like a full house full of furniture, but it frankly meant I could pretty much move in without bringing a single piece of furniture. And, I love this chair because this is what my dad should have made, right? The arms of the chair, I cannot, round the really thinnest bit, I can put my fingers all the way around. But the supports for the arms at the kind of average size, I cannot put my fingers around. So they're made of sturdy shit. My dad, 1/2 inch wood, right? Turned. So it's obviously spherical, it's tubular, but 1/2 inch. You put your arm on the chair, you can't stand up with that. It will just snap off, and one of them did at one point. I think the dog squirmed and literally the arm snapped off, right?
So these things were fragile. You almost daren't be comfortable in it, right? Because A, it's bolt upright. B, it was a 2-seater couch, but it wasn't a generous 2-seater couch. It was kind of like for the skinniest people alive. And so, unless you were really great friends with the dude sitting next to you, you would not sit on that couch with people you didn't know, right? Because you frankly have to hug them because there's nowhere else to put your arms, right? And, you know, and if you were slightly larger, well, your butt's going to be pushing the arm out and it'll be creaking and making breaking sounds. So it was hideous. And the worst part is, the day my dad went into hospital and I came back to his house after I began to see him in hospital, the first thing I did was notice that he'd clamped some of his chair together because it was a bit loose. First thing I did, found some wood glue and fucking fixed it. Because I am my father's daughter, I know woodwork and I know how to fix it because, well, I watched him build shit for years. So I know, I mean, I fixed most of the wooden furniture in here because obviously I don't work to freeze, so I've had the heating on a few times. And quite a few of the joints dried out and like the little scrolly bits, because I've got scrolly sticky out bits and on the back, so that it kind of makes it a bit more of a bucket seat, but it's not a bucket seat, but it, you know, it's not just a flat back, it has a little bit of kind of sticky outy bit. They got cracks in them, so I clamped them all and glued them and, you know, did all of that shit. So I am my father's daughter, I got the wood glue, I clamped it, and I, you know, let it set for like 48 hours because I really wanted the shit to hold, I didn't want to risk it. And, you know, I did all that and he never got to sit, what a shame, but I fixed his frigging furniture for him. Even though I'd rather burn, you know, I swore on my life I was going to have a bonfire and burn it. And one of my dad's longest friends who visited him quite a lot, oh, she was a great old lady, she's the, you know, she was 90-something, and my ex-husband came with me on a few occasions and we went down there, and her name was Auntie Pat, and Auntie Pat was the best Auntie Pat. She is not technically an auntie, she was no relative whatsoever, but as a small child, every adult was auntie or uncle, right? And I still call them auntie and uncle, even though, you know, I'm 52, and, well, he's still alive, she's not. But Auntie Pat used to go around and see my dad a lot, and when I mentioned to her, oh, fucking hell, that'd be a great idea. And Trev's face, he went, she swore, and I went, yeah, she's good. We like Auntie Pat. Because Auntie Pat was a good lady. She was not all primum circumstance. She was great. And I loved Auntie Pat incredibly, and I was very sad when she died. And yeah, I miss my Auntie Pat. I miss her more than my mother, that's for sure. But it, you know, I've had some interesting individuals in my life, and my Auntie Pat was quite crafty. So was my mother, but my mother did something for like 3 months and then never did it again. Whereas my Auntie Pat still did one of the things that my mother started her on, which was corn dolly making, which I do remember how to do. I don't do it, but I do remember how to do it. I remember how to make quite a few of the things, and it's really not that fucking difficult. But the hardest part is getting the shit to soak it to then make it. That's the longest bit of it. Because, you know, you've got to get the right kind, you know how it is. It can't just be any old strawy type stuff. You have to have the right kind of straw, and different straw gives slightly different results, and yeah, no one else is going to notice, love, really. It's, you know, it's a bit like if you're not a yarn or a wool person, a non-yarnie's not going to notice that that's not wool. They'll just see a jumper and think it's great. You know, it's that kind of, it's kind of wasted. Don't be all prim and proper. It's wasted. So, but my Auntie Pat still did corn dolly making. She did it for charity work. She taught other people to do it, and she did it for decades. Whereas my mother did it for 3 months and fucked off, leaving my Auntie Pat with the business that she had started, and my dad and her to sort it all out. My mother was terrible. So I've grown up with everyone doing crafty things around me. Now, I do many things that no one in my family ever did. No one in my family crocheted. No one in my family weaved. No one in my family did lace making. Well, that's not quite true. My cousin Rosemary was the reason I first did lace making. She turned up at my grand's one day with this thing, and her mother was desperately trying to make her do it. And I was kind of, what's that? And she goes, it's making lace. and it was like doing a little thin strip of nothing. And I go, can I have a go? Because, you know, my cousin was definitely not up for it. And no barking, it's too late for barking. And I kind of went, oh, this isn't that hard. Cross, twist, cross, twist. Okay, can do that, because you had a little picture, you know, do this, so I did. And I kind of stonked my way through it, and my auntie Evelyn went, oh, you seem to have taken to that. And I was like, yeah, it wasn't that bad. Okay. So my mother did find me a lady to give me a couple of lessons, literally a couple of lessons. And she didn't really teach me anything I didn't already know how to do, but of course I was a child, and so everything took forever. And so a few months ago, my brain woke up one day and went, Liz, yes, brain. Because I do this a lot. I have conversations with my brain, and it very much is kind of borderline schizophrenia in that, yes, brain, I want to do bobbin lace making again. Okay, brain, why? Where's this come from? You haven't thought about this for the best part of like 40 years. Why? Well, I just think it'll be great. It probably will, but why now? And it's not like a casual, oh, I think it would be cool. It is the, no, I need to do it today. Brain, we haven't got any of the bits. But I need to do it now. You need to buy things now. You need to do it now. And so that's kind of where I'm at. And one of the other problems I have with my brain is that if you can make something the size of a 2-inch square, well, you can make a bedspread, right? Well, technically, practically, possibly it's a little bit of an ask, but hence I'm making a curtain. Because my brain has gone, yeah, big things. And it's been trying to make me make a curtain for a really long time. Originally, it wanted to do it in double knitting out of thread that, frankly, is barely bigger than this. I mean, it is bigger than this, but it's still kind of thread, not yarn, you know. You could sew with it rather than think you'd knit with it, for example. And it was right, but think, it will have such level of detail because the stitches would be tiny. Yes, brain, but when you're talking like 2,000-3,000 stitches for the short side, how about you fuck off? Yeah, but I want to make one. Think how cool it would be. And it's been doing this for like 10 years, well, probably nearer 20 now. And so it's been sitting there going, but I want to make a curtain. And so here I am making a curtain. Because, well, I probably would actually put this up in my window. And I'm not against making it because, well, I'm not really a lace person. I don't really do flowers. And a lot of lace is about flowers. So, being a geometric design, I can picture this in my window. It is an upstairs window, only I will see it. So it's not so bad. I can live with this. I can do this. This is a feasible thing. And if it shuts my brain up from banging on about a curtain, this is the answer, right? And if nothing else, I'm making 18 squares. If I get to the end of the 18 squares and utterly hate it, I do not have to combine them into a curtain. I can just leave them as 18 squares. And never speak of it again. But then my brain does want to make a whole one. It wants to make a one-piece one, which will be a little bit more interesting because just think of the number of bobbins. So stress of bobbins is very much a problem that I suffer from because I do stress about my bobbins and how many of them I have. And I do get kind of worked up about it all. Because I do. And I have kind of like, not OCD, but a level of I'm not comfortable unless I've done X, Y, Z to it kind of thing. So I'm just going to push all these down because, well, that's a thing. You need to push these down because the edge ones will be staying in. Now, there are 3 rows of pins the other side on the previous triangle. And they will stay, they can come out arguably round about now. And is that all of them? No. You were a bit high. Let's poke with the finger. And you I have missed. There you go. Because technically I could pull some of these pins out, and this is usually when you've discovered you've gone wrong, is when you pull the pin out and you can actually see it clearly. But it is a viable thing. It is time to shut up shop for the day, I think. because I have work tomorrow. You see, this is the other thing. When I have time off in December, I can work later for my, so that other nations will be able to share in my work. Not that I expect people to come and watch it, but I do like it when people do. Let me explain again tomorrow. Hang on. Co-workers panicking over something. He hasn't listened. His maths skills are not mine. Now, we do make a really good pair. We don't technically work together, which is also quite amusing. But we are kind of like the married couple in a lot of ways at work. Because we spend the entire day, I mean, here we are, it's 11:30 at night and he's still sending me text messages. It can be 1 o'clock in the morning and he can still be sending me text messages. So it is very much a thing. But his math skills are somewhat lacking, which is kind of sad, really. But between us, I can't spell my own name, but I can count my fingers and toes. And when it comes to looking over documentation, because I have a level of autism, I can see ambiguity when everyone thought that it was black and white. So it might say, take object A and put it in object B. Well, that sounds pretty black and white, right? Yeah, but maybe what way round does it go in object B? Does it matter? Do you have to do anything to it first? And some of the documentation that we're currently going through, the reason he's panicking is because he's the documentation they've provided says this will happen and this will happen. If you do this, you get this. If that happens, this will happen. And we pointed out that it reads that you've got to do 12 days community service a year. Oh, no, that's the maximum. They said you only need to do 3. It's not what it says. Well, it does. No. Your example shows 3 in it, but it doesn't state that once you've got to 3, that's all of it. It sounds like it's a day a month. Oh, yes, I see what you mean. Well, but when he reads it, he reads the absolute letter by letter version, and he picks out that wording is ambiguous. Whereas I see the things that everyone else sees as black and white, I find the grey portions in. So between us, we are great for document annihilation, because between the pair of us, we will rip it in shreds and hand you back the tattered pieces and go, well, this doesn't make any sense. In this, you could mean this, or this, and which one did you actually mean? And the answer is usually none of the above. And so we've given this documentation back and kind of go, yes, D-, try harder. And this is the company documentation and legally binding stuff. And they're going, oh, I'm really glad we gave it to you because we didn't realise that it wasn't clear. Well, that's because you live with it and you're viewing it with the eyes of someone who knows. We don't know and we've got questions because it's a pile of poo. And so he's just calculated something and he's wrong. But I explained it to him earlier, but he's clearly kind of, stressing like I'm stressing. And so he's kind of gone back on so for example, as part of the community service, you have to do the 3 days to get your full bonus. You lose 5% of your bonus if you have not done the community service. And he's confused because the example shows you do 1 day in the first quarter and you get 10 quid or something. And then you don't do any in quarter 2, so you didn't get that part of your bonus then. But you did 2 days in quarter 3 and you got, 20 quid. And then in quarter 4 you did another day, but you didn't get any money for it. And it's not really explained why you didn't get money for quarter 4, and it mentions the 11.5 days, and so you're sitting there, well, that's one day a month, and well, you've only got 10 quid, which, kind of doesn't sound too surprising, and all of this, and he's gone, and he was convinced that if you did no community service days, you lost 15% of your bonus. No, you lose 5%, because it's 5% of the bonus for each quarter. So it's not cumulative. It's, you can lose 5% of the, well, 4%, 20% of the 5% each quarter. Does that not, okay. It's 5% of the quarter bonus, but it's not 5% of the 100% bonus. It's a 5% of a quarter. So it's, frankly, it's fuck all and not worth worrying about. It's like, the price of a pizza. Let's not be, dying on a hill that doesn't matter. So, and he's suddenly gone back to, oh, well, it means this and this resets. And no, it doesn't reset. They've actually said that it is, if you skip and make up for it, you get the money to make up for it. And I told you that. And so as long as you do your 3 days, you will get that 5% of your bonus. There is no, oh, you lose out, oh, it starts again. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. So yeah, it's, but we're also stressed that we're making really stupid mistakes. And this is part of the problem with my lace making, is that while I feel calm and collected, especially in comparison to my 2 co-workers, I'm clearly not. Because I had stress nightmares last night, and my stress nightmares are really gnarly. Are you biting me? Again, he was biting me earlier, now it's her. You're going to hold my thumb. Okay, you hold my thumb. And so we are stressed, and it is proving to be detrimental. We're all making stupid little mistakes. We're all misreading things, overthinking things that don't need it. So we're in a bit of a pickle, frankly. So I will sort him out tomorrow, because logic is my bag. I am part Borg. I will sort that tomorrow. But tonight, Liz is not going to sit and type it all out again on my phone. That is not a thing. I will phone you tomorrow, mate, and I will explain it to you again, with little pictures if necessary. Because, well, we're all at that kind of stage. So tonight is over. Mango, if you would care to follow and return, because I do intend to stream most days, every day generally, but I don't guarantee to do it every day in case disaster strikes. Because technically, for example, I'm on call, so if the phone rings, I would have to not stream or terminate the stream and go and do my job. I know which one I'd rather be doing, but you know how it is. And we are quite lucky in that our call-out rates are low, so it's not generally too bad. But I also may really not be in the mood. But I'm trying not to get into the not in the mood, because then it's too easy to not be in the mood and never be in the mood. And eventually it falls by the wayside and you never get it done. And because we've worked out there's 1,000 hours of this crap to go, to do, it's definitely going to be... It's not one to be putting off, especially this early in the project. So I am kind of determined to keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to pin up these so that should the dogs attack, the least amount of destruction occurs. Because that is most certainly a plausible issue. My dogs tend to do randomly annoying things when the doorbell goes. Or postman comes or something, and I come back in the room and, well, frankly, it looks like someone exploded in here. They do it so quickly as well, it's really surprising. But we will put these in here for safety, and you need to go in the hole. There you go. You can go in there, and you can snug up, and you two can come in at the end. Go like that. So that's you all safely sorted. As I said, today I think we're over. I shall hopefully see you tomorrow. I intend to stream tomorrow, unless disaster strikes. If not, I'm around Friday afternoon, potentially Friday evening, depending on how the Friday afternoon goes. But I start at 2 UK time. Well, we'd love to see you again, so do come back. As I say, I'm hopefully streaming most days, so I mean, there are only 3 stitches in the whole thing, and, well, we've got a lot of them to do. As you can see from the top right-hand corner, there's plenty to go. So, you know, we will be here for a while, which is part of the reason I'm making myself do it every day, because, well, I've got to get to the end. Because I think I really will like it once it's done. It's not that I hate it now, but I think I would like it when it's done. And obviously, we're all keen to see how it looks in the end. So, we shall see. But it is late. This is going to take forever to upload. Never mind. I'm not going to get to bed early today. So, but I will see you all soon. And hopefully tomorrow. For those who can make it. If not, as when you are next available is great. It's been fun talking to everybody. Thanks for coming and seeing me. Bye.